Well, hello there, friends, and welcome to Strangers in the Night, your source for late night VR talk. I am your host, Wes. With me, as always, my good friends, Ruuts and Eric, and tonight, our special guest, AJ from Without Parole and PSVR Underground. AJ, it's been a long time coming, friend. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. I'm a big fan of what you guys do, and I feel like I've known you guys for so long, so I feel like we're gonna get along just dandily.
Yeah, agreed. Super excited to finally get to talk some VR with you in front of a camera, and what a great time to do it. I mean, we just had a week of awesome releases. I mean, some of which we're not even going to talk about, but some great multi-platform releases. So the timing just kind of perfect to have you join us. So again, thank you.
Man, thank you. My pleasure.
He's not a
Uh,
virtual stranger. He's like our buddy.
right. Just our friend. He's
Yes.
our friend
Yeah.
from across the way.
Hell yeah.
Eric, good. Glad to see that you could make it tonight, man. It was in question for a little while, huh?
Oh my god, dude. I've been on the internet since 9 a.m. this morning
Mm.
with a million and a half things I've had to do today. With a
Was
million and
it
a half games I've had to play today.
was it storm related? Is it because of the ass ton of snow that everyone's getting?
Snow. We have ice storm coming too, which just sucks. You know what I mean? I'd rather give me the snow. You know what I mean? Don't give me the ice. The ice just freaking kills everything. You know, you can't move. Everything freezes up. You can't even open
It's
your
coming.
doors of your car, and it's gonna be 2 degrees. And I'm moving to
It's
Florida.
coming. It's coming here tomorrow too. Like I've been preparing for weeks. It seems like at this point, but tomorrow it's supposed to smash us, and my power grid is terrible here. So undoubtedly, I'm going to be a Quest gamer for the next few days because I'm not
Yeah.
going to be able to plug into the wall.
Get those
Although
bobos ready.
I did pull a generator in, so hopefully we can keep the modem and router up, right?
Well, and it's all debatable. Even with the power on it, you still might not have an internet for the same reason, kind of like Eric did today. So hopefully, but either way, having that power to be able to use your Quest or have some light, have some a little bit of heat in there is nice. You know, what the whole thing is, Wes went through this a couple years ago, right, and didn't prepare or didn't wasn't prepared enough. And all it takes is one time, and from now, I mean, this is like the third or fourth that you've been like super prepared, and you're not going through that again.
Yeah, I'm ready for it this time, man. We've got heat, we've got VR, we've got food, we have everything that we need.
Yeah, Wolf Raza says the Groundhog Day has really caused some shit, and I agree. Damn, Punxsutawney Phil, and I guess shout out to Traveling Man who actually lives in Punxsutawney. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, did the groundhog actually die?
That's what he says. It died. The groundhog dying.
Oh, shit, dude. You know, I bet you they added into the COVID statistics, right?
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Phil. Should have took the jab, bro.
Yeah, that's definitely something he should have done for sure, just for society, I think.
100%.
Anyway, enough about the weather. We have a metric shit ton of VR to talk about tonight, so we probably shouldn't waste any time. We don't want to keep AJ up till 3 a.m. So let's kick it off the way we always do by saying hello to our friends in chat. Gamer Chick making an appearance. Thank you, Tiffany, for stopping by. And I guess while I'm thinking about it, we already got a donation a few minutes ago. MRI Gamer with the $4.99 donation says, AJ is the man. PSVR 2 hype.
Oh,
so
thanks, MRI.
Hell yeah,
I'm happy to be here amongst friends and tons of friends, and yeah, super excited to be here, man.
Looking forward to talking a little PSVR 2 with AJ. I mean, we've kind of, ran it into the ground, as I'm sure that they have over there on Without Parole, but it's going to be nice to kind of revisit a few of these topics with someone knowledgeable like AJ being able to contribute to the conversation. So we're going to get into a little bit of PSVR 2.
Obsessed might be the word that you're looking for. Terribly obsessed.
Well, it's hard not to be, right? It's not. I mean, for years we're watching every article and combing through like quarterly earnings reports, looking for any little clue that we might could find that this is actually happening. and now we've had Jim Ryan, grace us with his presence on the stage not too long ago, and it's just kind of balls to the wall since then.
Yeah. Well,
Dude, he was like a fucking rock star when he came out on that stage at CES. He out trumped the dude who plays Spider-Man. What's his name? Because he was on the stage before that. Tom Holland was out there before that. Everybody's like, "Holy crap, Tom Holland!" And pictures going there. But Jim Ryan came out, and he was like a rock star, dude. The crowd got quiet, and then the cameras just went, chick, 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 and it was like, "Holy crap!"
Don't you mean Nathan Drake? He's Nathan Drake.
Oh yeah, he is.
Right. I don't have as much of a problem with him being Nathan Drake as Mark Wahlberg playing the older character. I can't even think of his name right
Mark
now.
Wahlberg playing any video game movie. Every video game movie he's been in has been awful. So I'm worried about that. He was in Max Payne, which was just so terrible. I mean, when a video game tells a better story than a movie, like something is seriously wrong. And he was in some other, I think, video game movies, and they're just all bad. Just please stop casting him. I know he takes any role possible, but just stop.
Well, I think I agree with the sentiment completely. But with that said, I think when it comes to like Sony exclusives, more times than not, the video games tell better stories than the movies, and that's why we're all so excited, right, for PlayStation VR 2 and what it actually is going to mean for the future of gaming in general. Anyway, we will talk more about that in a minute. Wolveraza is in the chat, as is Dark Angel. What's up, Dark Angel? Decepticon's here. Oh, yeah. What's up, Decepticon? Daniel Kaz in the house, as is Techno Glitch. Diz, the Game Cat. What's up, Diz? Mind Jive, Radio Runt, Mr. Tasselhoff, MRI Gamer, we already said hello to. Thanks again for the support. Chinatown D says, stupid ice, stupid strong arbor, and after the fall. Hey, no need to be all upset. We won, right? We ran 3 times last night. The only one of the 3 runs that we lost was the one where D dropped out before we got to the boss. But when we kept our party together, we won every time. So F that ice and F that boss, and we rule.
Let me ask.
Okay,
I was just going to ask you guys this, and do you think it's a bad sign because Wolveraza said that it is not a joke that the groundhog died the day before he was supposed to predict the weather. I don't know, like with everything else in the world going on, I feel like it's just like one more like omen out there that says maybe this year might not be the best year of all years.
The comet is coming. The meteor is finally coming.
Yeah, and finally the meteors don't look up. We just have a whole plethora of things going on. It's exciting.
Well, I'm just saying. I read on a news site yesterday that the groundhog saw his shadow and went back in the hole. So somebody's got fake news here, man. Which news is fake news and which is the legit news is what I want to know.
Maybe he died after.
Yeah, it's probably a cover up. They probably got like a stand-in, like
right.
Like a fake. It's like a stuffed groundhog.
That's not the real. That's not really him.
Punxsutawney Bob.
Yes.
It's a big conspiracy.
I totally. His ears are bigger than I think, and his nose isn't the same. I think it's a clone.
Yeah. I guarantee there's probably websites dedicated to cracking this same thing right
probably.
now. It's like, look at the ears, man. Look at the nose. Definitely different people.
Yeah.
Or groundhogs, rather. X Pacer X says AJ represented. Absolutely. Jarillo, we have a Jarillo sighting, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us, bro. Some fat underground game cat lurking. What's up?
That's the best name ever. That's the best name ever, dude, right there.
Keeps it real.
Boognish 66. What's up, bro?
Traveling Man says it wasn't Phil that died. It was another one from somewhere else. And I would trust Traveling Man because, like I said, he does actually live in Punxsutawney. So he may have been there for the real Phil coming out and seeing the shadow.
Well, if it's another groundhog that just died somewhere, then who cares? Screw that groundhog.
Groundhogs die every day over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, right. Probably got hit by a car. All right. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for staying up with us, ladies and gentlemen. Without further ado, let's get into a little VR talk, and let's kick it off by talking about a little bit about kind of a surprise that got dropped in our laps. What was it, yesterday, Master, that we got the key for Ultrawings 2?
Yeah, and it was just an oversight on our part because I kind of we knew it was coming. And I was like, Wes, did you message him? And he's like, no, I forgot.
Well,
And I'm like, I forgot completely, man.
They just announced the release date for it like last week or something like that. And as you know, we've been very busy here with other stuff. I mean, there's been a million releases, all things considered. So yeah, neither of us kind of got around to asking for a key for this until like a couple days ago. So when this got dropped in our laps yesterday, we already had the format set for today's show. And I don't know about you guys, but I had most of my gaming done when we got this. But much to our surprise, and a big thanks to, what is it, Bit Planet Games? Is that the name of
Yep.
the studio here? Yeah, big thank you to Bit Planet Games for providing us with review access. But that's not all they gave us. They gave us permission to come on here tonight ahead of the embargo being lifted and talk a little bit about our experience, which, at least in my case, was very brief. I put about 90 minutes into this game, playing through some of the early missions. And with that said, I have no baseline experience to compare it to, as I have never played the original Ultrawings. This is my very first Ultrawings experience. And well, let me just start with you, I guess, Eric. What's your experience with Ultrawings 1? Did you play it very much?
Yeah, I played it a little bit. I mean, I wasn't a huge fan. I mean, I thought it was okay. It was good. It was just fairly basic. You know what I mean? It's it's a good flyer. For a long time, it was the only flyer you were getting on a Quest platform, or on a standalone platform. So that was all you had really for a long, long time, and it was good. It's a good arcadey flyer. I am not a flight sim guy. I do not like flight sims. I don't want to have to read a manual to play a video game. I want to get in and fly, and that's what you can do with this. So yeah, I had a good time with the original, maybe like a couple hours worth, but that's not something I ever went back to a lot. But it's a good game.
AJ, you're a fan of the original Ultrawings?
Yeah, I am. So the first time playing it, I was a little like underwhelmed because early in the early days of PSVR, or I'm sorry, just VR, there were a lot of like independent games coming out, and they were kind of like low poly and no textures, low poly, single color stuff, and I was like a little underwhelmed visually. But the thing that won me over eventually was the gameplay. It having the VR, we love interacting with things. We love reaching out and grabbing. That's why we always love virtual hands and feeling like we're actually grabbing and holding on and interacting with everything. And this game did such a good job of that. I mean, the tracking and the moves and everything that I used, flipping all the buttons and switches and controlling the joystick. All this was done really, really well. So the game really won me over the most with its like kind of simulation arcade hybrid, like flight sim kind of gameplay, for sure. Yeah, definitely a big fan. It wasn't like my favorite game ever, but definitely love the gameplay of it.
Did it support DualShock, or was it moves only?
Yeah, it supports like everything. It actually supports the HOTAS, but they actually did the move controller so well that I preferred the moves over the HOTAS, because it's just that good.
Yeah, I tried to use like the virtual stick in the sequel when I played it. And again, I don't play these types of games. I don't play flight sims at all. I mean, I have less than 10 hours in my total flight sim VR experience. So I haven't played very much of these games, but when I first started, I didn't even think to like use the thumbsticks on my Quest controllers, and I just grabbed the big stick that was in front of me, and I kept crashing immediately into the ocean, into the wall, into the ground, until I figured out, you can use the sticks. And after I did that, I got a grip on it pretty quickly. Ruuts, the original Ultrawings, I kind of always got this sense that it was kind of like the job simulator of flight sims. But again, everyone raves about it. AJ likes it. Again, it's like one of the only 3 games that my dad even plays in VR. A lot of people love this game. What were your thoughts on the original Ultrawings, or did you even play it?
I did. Actually, I played it PCVR, I think 2018. It was really back then, even really was one of the only games you could play where you could fly a plane, right? And that was kind of the cool thing. I enjoyed it. You went from island to island. I guess you unlocked money. You could buy new island and new things, and then you would have new things you had to do, like different mini missions or whatever. Now this one, I don't know. I didn't go get too far. I was telling you guys before the show, I started flying around. It was pretty cool. Seemed very similar to the first one, and I didn't feel like it told me what I was supposed to do. I just like flew around. I flew to another island, didn't have any money, so I couldn't buy anything. But it was cool. It was cool flying. But I did use a virtual stick. I enjoyed it. It was I didn't even realize I could use the joystick to fly until like at the very end when I was getting out. I said, "Oh shit, I can actually steer this thing this way." So I used the virtual stick the entire time and really enjoyed it. And while I was doing all sorts of barrel rolls and flips and just trying to make it fun. It was cool.
I was just trying not to die. That was pretty much it. And by the end of my play session, I'd gotten actually pretty good at it, to where I was gold medaling pretty regularly. Although I will say this, if you want an extra added challenge, play with a controller that has drift, because about a week ago, one of my Quest controllers started drifting to the left. So it feels like you have a crosswind constantly while you're flying, and the plane just wants to always go left. But
You just need
Eric,
more challenge. That's all.
I mean, I adjusted to it. Like Ruuts was talking about earlier before we went on air. So you just adjust, right, and move on.
Well, that was one of the things I was going to say about this game. I think the reason it's such a popular game, even the original, is it's approachable, right? Especially on the Quest platform. You have so many new people in the VR. Buying something like the Quest or the Quest 2. People that maybe have never gamed before. You just talked about your dad. He's probably never a gamer, right, in his life, but they can get into this game and they can have fun in it pretty easily. So you kind of need these approachable games to where maybe it's not the deepest game for us, but it's a good fun game that I would play, and I will play again, and it's really approachable for new people, which is really good.
Minus
I
the
would.
motion sickness thing.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't try. There are options for comfort, which I didn't even mess with. As usual, I just turned all that stuff off, and I was fairly comfortable in it. But I could see how somebody who was new to VR would have their stomach in their throat pretty quickly, because it did feel a little bit weird when you get upside down and and things are out of control. But again, you adjust pretty quickly to it. Eric, it's kind of odd, right? Because when you're talking about a sequel, especially to a popular game like this, from a small team, and it's been out for years, you look for a certain amount of progression, one game to the next. And in some department, this game delivers that and then some. It's much bigger in terms of scope. There's a lot more to do. There's 5 different aircraft you can buy into now. There are combat missions where you're fighting aerial opponents and on the ground targets. As far as gameplay goes, which in your opinion was the highlight of the game to begin with, there's a lot more here. But in terms of the the look and feel of it, I didn't feel it. Again, having not played it, I was expecting it to be a little bit more different than the first Ultrawings than it was. Having played both, did you notice any kind of difference graphically, sound wise, scope wise, with the maps over the first one?
I mean, maybe everything's a little bit bigger. The draw distance maybe is a little bit farther this time around. That's probably just because they're using a little bit a little bit more, getting a little bit more out of the Snapdragon, say in the Quest, in the Quest 2. Is this a Quest 1 game released too? I didn't even know. Do you know?
I'm actually not sure.
I'm just
So I'm
curious if
looking
they cut the
at it.
tethers from the Quest 1, I could see why maybe it would be a little bit better. But while you're looking that up, I will say that it's the amount of time in between games that I think does them a little bit of injustice. Because if they had done this exact game 2 years after launch of the first game, or a year and a half, you could have got away with this and went, man, this is fantastic. It's more of the same, which I freaking love. Just giving me more planes. You're giving me dogfighting. You're giving me shooting. I can shoot stuff now. I can't. It's not just me flying around the island or flying through rings. You're giving me more stuff to do. And in that period of time, you don't need a whole different engine. You don't need better graphics. You don't need all that. You're just getting more content, which is what you want. 4 years down the road now, we expect a jump. We expect a boost. We're on a whole different platform now with the Quest 2. They're going to be going to PSVR. But I would assume they're probably going to port this exactly over to PSVR from the Quest 2. So yeah, you're just not seeing any kind of jump. There's nothing different here besides the gameplay, a little bit of the gameplay. Everything else looks pretty much the same.
AJ, if they do port this over, well, obviously it's coming to PlayStation VR. I mean, it wasn't, but now it is.
When we raised our pitchforks and torches, they said, "Okay, we'll do it."
So if this is a one-to-one Quest port, is that good enough, or are you expecting them to leverage the superior hardware to deliver something that's a bit more aesthetically pleasing?
It's gonna be when it comes to PSVR, it's gonna be just a Quest port because they basically told us that. They said, "Well, we wanted to target PSVR 2, and it sounded like that kind of fell through. So instead, we're going to do PSVR, and if we do that, it's probably just going to be a PSVR port." And I'll tell you what, I started following this game like 2-3 years ago, and they would tease us with like some little pictures, and these original pictures that we saw, I mean, they were like high resolution, highly detailed plane models and stuff. So I was definitely expecting, like, it's like what Eric said. When you have a sequel, you expect just like, better graphics, more content, and these are just in the history of video games. These are like the basic things you can do to enhance the sequel that make it better from the first one. So it's definitely, when I saw the footage of this, I was like, like it looks exactly the same, because when you said you're flying around and in between the sections of the world, it's a little underwhelming. Because it's not visually like stunning to look at. I mean, if you were flying around and it's a beautiful landscape to like gawk at, it would really go a long way with this game. And, like I said, I still love the gameplay of it, but I definitely would have preferred like, some graphical enhancements. But that being said, I stand by this when I said originally that I would still take a Quest port of this over not having it at all.
Right, because I mean, this isn't like some other games where you're going to have this PC version that's completely drop dead gorgeous, then the Quest version, which is way watered down, and then the PlayStation, which is going to fall somewhere in between, and you kind of hope that it's more on the PC side than the Quest side. With a game like this, with the graphics and art style as basic as it is, getting a Quest port isn't going to be that much different, if it's any different at all than what happens on PC. And to answer your question, Eric, this is Quest 2 exclusive. There is no original Quest version out as of right now or tomorrow. I guess this launches tomorrow for those of you who are interested, by the way. So by the time most of you are watching this, you'll be able to go buy this game. Rich, do you expect any kind of big significant improvement graphically or any kind of improvement at all when we play this on PC tomorrow? Oh, wait a minute. Correction, not coming to PC tomorrow. In the future when it comes to PC.
I was like, damn, I'm playing this tomorrow? Wow. I don't know if it'll be that much different. I'm sure there'll be some differences, but I wouldn't expect that there's going to be too much difference, right? I mean, what could they change? You know?
And are you okay with that? Because it's not like, we're sitting here and kind of getting hung up on what was probably the least important aspect of the game. The gameplay is expanded. The worlds have expanded. The scope of the game has expanded. It's improved in most ways. So is it really all that big a deal whether or not it looks any better? I mean, sure, it's a minor disappointment, but are you really going to feel like they didn't deliver if all three versions of this game turn out to be exactly the same?
I don't think so. I don't think it'll be a big deal at all. I mean, like Eric was saying, the gameplay is where this game shines, and they made the gameplay better than the first one. The first one was amazing in its own right as well. So I think this one will do fine. Do we know what the cost is on this by chance, or no?
I want to say that it's.
I
No,
will.
I'm going to
I
check
wasn't
because
given that. Yeah, I wasn't given that info when I got
Hmm.
the key.
I want to say $30, but I don't. That's just off the top of my head, and I don't know that.
I was
so
thinking
I don't wanna-
$24.95 would be right about what I would think it would be.
They're claiming 60 hours
Oh wow.
of gameplay, or 40 to 60 hours of gameplay, and I can see it with the way that these missions are laid out.
Well, they have a
Like
ton
you
of
have
planes
jobs.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. Eric, are you the least bit upset or disappointed that uh, the most expensive aircraft and the last one that you're going to unlock is the helicopter? Because that was probably the thing I was looking forward to most about this game, was being able to use that helicopter. And it looks like I'm going to have to put in 20, 30 hours before I even get there.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Wow.
somebody in chat was asking about it earlier if there was a helicopter in here. That's so that's what everybody wants. They're like, "Is the helicopter there? Is the helicopter?" Yeah.
I'll tell you
Everybody
what.
wants to fly the
If you want a
helicopter. Yeah.
quicker way to do it, a more fun way, and it lines up with our mod month / months / year, or whatever it ends up being, the GTA 5 has Trevor. You can end up buying the helicopter. You can fly that shit all over. And I guarantee it's going to be, I guarantee it's not going to take you 30, 40 hours to get to that helicopter, maybe 10, maybe 5. I don't know, depending on how much story you go through, but you're going to have a hell of a time doing it, Wes.
Yeah. Well,
We'll
what
get
I was
there.
gonna, yeah, what I was gonna say was, I was kind of, I don't want it to seem like I'm kind of was dumping on this game, because if you like the first game,
Yeah.
you should buy this game. If you enjoyed the first game,
Yeah.
you should 100% buy
It'll
this
blow
game,
you away.
because yeah, you're getting it does look better, marginally than the first game. But what you're getting is you're getting a ton more gameplay, and you're getting a whole bunch of different types of gameplay now. It's expanding the entire universe of what you're doing in here. So I definitely would recommend that you get it. So don't. I'd like to see the price of it first. $30. I don't know. I wish it was a
I
little bit
don't.
cheaper.
I can't find the price on it,
Mm.
so I don't know why I was thinking that. I might be thinking of Warplanes. I think
I think
Warplanes
Roots was
$35.
the sweet spot at $25.
RUR history says I'd guess 20, 25. That's what I would guess. No, $20 is like what I would prefer. And I always have what I would prefer, and then what I think it's going to be. I'd almost bet anything is 25, because I think the other one might have even been $25, but I don't know.
A couple of caveats I feel compelled that I think that we have to throw out here. First of all, none of us have more than 2 hours in this game. Like these are very, very early impressions, and when we talk about it being a bit underwhelming graphically, you need to take that into perspective, because I don't know about you guys, but after you get into the air and you look out over the maps, it looks pretty good. It's just when you're like low to the ground and close to the buildings and stuff that you kind of start to see the cracks in it, right? So, since we're in the early missions and we're not staying in the air for, 2 minutes, 3 tops, I'm sure that contributes to our impressions of it from a graphical perspective. Now, besides that, I'm on Steam right now looking at screenshots of this game, and there are environments on here that are absolutely great looking. I mean, like cityscapes and things that we haven't seen yet. So I feel like it's a little bit too early for us to kind of pass any kind of judgment on this game. Like I feel like there's a lot of content here, and we're still in the tutorial on it. So I
Good
think
point.
what Eric said is spot on. If you liked the original Ultrawings, then you 100% should buy this because it's a proper expansion in every way.
Yeah, it
AJ,
had, yeah.
It
so
is
go ahead. No,
25
go ahead.
bucks. Bit Planet Games says it is $25.
Ah,
25
they
bucks. There
here?
you go.
Hey, what's up,
Oh,
guys?
yeah.
Cheers.
I was just gonna say the game did have the first game even had like hours and hours of content, and the way the structure works was that it was an open world, and then there was like 4 different islands, and you basically each island you land on has like a set of missions and objectives, and you kind of have like a flight journal, and you can do like balloon pop missions, ring, like kind of like Pilot Wings, ring missions. There's even one where you like take out a camera and try to match like like a picture. Like you try to, it tells you, it gives you a little tiny picture of where to of the pic of like what you're trying to capture, and so you have to fly around the island and snap that picture like exactly. So there's a lot of cool like different little game mechanics in it, and yeah, and it was like a huge open world, and this one is supposed to be like way bigger. So content wise, it seems like there's going to be really big, and I see Bit Planet Games here says it only takes like 5 hours to get to the chopper.
That's not
to
too
get
bad.
Get to the chopper.
Well, I feel a lot better about that. Now, that was actually what I was going to ask you, AJ. Are you looking forward to flying that chopper the way that I
Oh
am?
yeah.
Because that's really like the top thing that I'm looking forward to with this game.
Absolutely. I think ever since like Battlefield Vietnam, I fell in love with flying helicopters. Maybe even way before that, like one of those Desert Strike or something games on like SNES or something. I've always loved flying a chopper in games, and it's super satisfying and fun. And one of the cool things about this game has been kind of like the progression of unlocking the next plane. It kind of motivates you. Like some of the mini games and stuff are fun and challenges are fun, but it does kind of motivate you to keep going to the planes that you unlock from each like other island are kind of the carrot that is dangling in front of you that keeps you wanting to go more and more. But yeah, the chopper to me was like the big like exciting thing for me to try out in this game.
$50,000. Spoiler alert. $50,000.
Start saving now. Well, and you got to buy the
Yeah.
islands too, right?
I don't know. Do you?
Yeah,
I assume that stuff you had to unlock.
Yeah, you have to like get to a certain level, or no, maybe it is just money. Like
I think it's money
thing.
because I literally flew over to the other island and I'm just like, ooh, what is this thing? Can I get it? And then I realized it was like 150,000 or whatever the number was, and it said you have 0. And I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm not buying this one.
Yeah. So Bit Planet Game says in the chat says that the first game on the Quest was not open world, whereas this one is more open world, and there was no textures at all in the first game. There are textures here, and I definitely will say that there are textures here, and that was why I asked Wes if it was a Quest 1 tethered game, because when you can cut the ties to the original Quest, you're going to increase it, and I could tell there was draw distance increased here because when you're up in the air, you can see way farther out, especially over the open water. And
Oh yeah, and that becomes super apparent when you start to chase these drones down and try to shoot them out of the air because I mean it's not easy, and they get way out in front of you, but they never get so far that you can't reach them, and that's all because of what you're talking about here with the draw distance. You can actually see quite far ahead of you.
Yeah.
And when you get into those type of missions, that was where I really started to have fun with it. Was right like the last 30 minutes of my session when the combat stuff got introduced. That's when I really started to dig the game a lot. And I think it's going to be cool because hearing AJ lay out kind of the structure of the first game, this is very similar to that. Only now instead of having jobs, it looks like as you progress through the game, there's another tab called missions. So I guess there's going to be kind of like a military component to it as you work your ways up through the ranks as a pilot. you're going to work your way into like military missions and stuff.
Mm.
Whereas on the job end of things, it's more of like a training thing. Fly through rings, shoot the targets in the air, on the ground. But shooting stuff's fun in VR. We've said it 100 times, Roots. It's kind of hard to screw up shooting things in VR, and this is no different. Like I really enjoyed that aspect of it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the most favorite things I liked about Warplanes, and now I get to have it in this game, which is super cool. Wolveraza was actually asking if that had any influence, Warplanes had any influence on the second one, because I think that this adding this aspect of it has made the game really cool, right? Especially these missions to where, I'm assuming you going in and having to take out different types of enemies, planes or whatever. It looked like he was doing a little airstrike there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's challenging. Like the challenge isn't so much the shooting. For me, it wasn't so much the shooting, but the different planes drive differently. They feel different to fly them. The first plane's a lot more agile and easier to maneuver with. When you get to the second plane that has the guns, it's very difficult to make quick turns and quick movements with it. So you kind of have to adjust. Not to mention that the controls are all different, and there's more stuff going on the control panel. But it handles different. It's a lot bigger. It's a lot heavier, and you feel that weight in the controls. AJ, did you experience like anything like that with the first one? I know you just had the one plane, but I know you kind of you upgraded it as you went along, right?
You
did
unlock
the
you unlock a bunch of different planes. You start with like a simple like glider kind of thing, and then you get like I can't remember the exact order or what they were, but you basically go to like some like rocket propelled glider. You start with like almost like a kite with like fans on it and that you can fly, and you start with this like really cheapo dinky kind of plane, and then you get this glider that has like, it doesn't have like a engine or anything. You just hit this like the igniter thing, and it just goes, and it's like some timed like rocket boost that you have basically to use, and then you have to glide the rest of the way, and then you eventually get like a stunt plane, and it has like better controlling, better handling, the planes do get like better as you go. They try to reward you that way, which was nice, and then I mean, there's a like just tons of different challenges for each one that are, some of them are kind of specifically tailored for each. So
is the handling like noticeably different as you progress through the different aircraft in the original?
I'd say noticeable, but it's probably not like a huge difference. There are, like I said, one's like a glider kind of, so they do have a couple different styles to them, but yeah, and they all really for the most part felt really good.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I
Cool.
said, the gameplay of this game, the first one anyways, was like the strength for me. There was and there was a lot to do technically. There was some like downtime in between the challenges, but just going straight for the challenges and doing that was the most enjoyable part for me.
Yeah, same here.
Eric, as you were learning this game, did you die a lot?
I didn't at all. And you know what? I played a game not too long ago. You guys remember Simple Planes?
Mm-hmm.
I played that game, and I made a video on it, and I crashed about 150 times on one mission where I had to land on an aircraft carrier. Because that's way more sim. You know what I mean? It's that one is they stick you in a plane. They're like, yeah, go ahead, fly it and land it, and not tell you anything how to do it. Here they kind of help you a little bit, and it definitely has a more arcadey feel, which I love. This is what I'm looking for. I don't want to get frustrated. I mean, literally, I really, I had to be 40 times, seriously, literally 40 times I crashed in this aircraft carrier before I got it. And they just don't tell you anything in that game in Simple Planes. Here they don't hold your hand, but they kind of give you ideas of how you need to do things, and especially in the early missions when they're training you how to fly through the rings, how to bring back your power, how to slowly you get yourself to the ground to make your landing. So it's way more approachable here, and that's something I really, really loved about it. And if you were more towards the arcadey part, and this is nice because it kind of gives you both. I think it gives you a little bit of sim and it gives you a little bit of arcade. To where like Microsoft Flight Simulator, I would never play that game. That's a snooze fest for me. I'd fall asleep on and right in front of my.
How dare you?
How dare
Sorry,
you?
Microsoft.
Hey, I wanted to throw out there that BitPlanet did clarify that they were working on this game for 4 years, a little bit before Warplanes even existed. So there's that, and they said multiplayer, Wes, is coming.
Nice.
Yeah, I noticed the multiplayer stuff in the menu, and I immediately thought, "Oh crap, that's how we should be playing this." So I guess it's not unlocked yet.
No, and initially it's going to be dogfighting, and then maybe something else from there. So
Awesome. That multiplayer always makes it better, right? Like even marginally good games can be great with friends, and
Yep.
we'll talk more about that in just a little while. Yeah, BitPlanet also says that the aircraft they handle dramatically different from each other, and that was very much my experience. And it was part of the challenge, man. Honestly, when you have jobs, like the early ones are like fly through the rings, right? So that you can prove that you can handle the aircraft, and then you have other missions where you're trying to shoot things, shoot the drones out of the sky, shoot the targets on the ground, and then they combine it, fly through the rings and shoot the targets. And when you get to that, then it starts to get really challenging. And when you couple that with the fact that the plane that you're flying is completely different than the one you learned on, I mean, it's very challenging. And unlike you, Eric, I did crash a lot. But I did appreciate how drawn out the training process is. Like at the beginning, every mission is teaching you something, only one thing new. But then as you kind of get your license and you move along, then you kind of have a little bit of freedom with whether or not you want to take like the advanced version of each course for the money, for the experience. And unlike Ruuts, I really appreciate a thorough training process, and this game really has it. So
no training.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
guys. We're not even supposed to ask for directions. You know what I mean? Like, let alone sit through a tutorial.
Right. And how many rings did you fly through, Ruuts?
Hey, listen, I flew around the island with style. I figured out it takes exactly there's 8 minutes, and a little over 4 minutes you can get to the next island. So I found that information out. That's pretty good.
Which is like, what rings? What rings? You're supposed to fly through rings?
There were rings.
What do you think? You're better than me because
there
you're
were
flying through rings?
This man legitimately thinks that he is better than us.
Yeah, and I disagree. You're not.
No.
We're all equal.
Anyway, I guess we should probably move along. I want to thank BitPlanet again, not
Yes.
only for allowing us early access to the game, but showing up and talking to us. Super cool. Pretty much as expected here, folks. If you like the original Ultrawings, this is an expansion in every way, in scope, in gameplay. You're gonna dig it. I'm gonna buy it for my dad. He's
Sounds
gonna
good to
dig it.
me.
So
If it's
yeah,
just the first but bigger, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, and the price is
Well,
right there. What we just said, the price is sweet spot, $24.
And BitPlanet is saying
$25.
this same thing Gerillo said. The PC version looks much better, real-time lighting, bloom, higher everything. Gerillo just said that the pictures on Steam look better than the video here. So I guess everything that we theorized in the beginning was wrong, Wes.
there you go. Well, we didn't really theorize either way. We were just kind of questioning.
I guess, yeah, it was
like,
just a question.
Yeah.
Mm.
So there's the answer, right? So the PC version is going to be improved graphically, and that's what I was saying, man. When I was on Steam, looking at those stills, I mean, it looked pretty good, man. And yeah, so I look forward to checking this out on PC. Hopefully, we don't have to wait very long to get that version of it. But regardless of that, stay tuned. A lot more to come on this game. I think I'm going to do a gameplay. I know you're going to do one as well, right, for the Q2C channel?
I am actually going to record tonight. As soon as we're done here, I'm going to edit it, and by 8 a.m., I will have a gameplay out.
Cool.
Yeah, so Eric will have a gameplay out. I'll probably have one out tomorrow as well, and then the game launches tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, $24.99. Oculus Quest 2 only tomorrow, but coming to all major VR platforms very soon.
Is it cross-buy is the question, but I guess it's been thrown out a million times, well, like 3 or 4 times in the chat. So we'll see if it is or not.
It's the original was cross-buy. I'm almost certain that the original was cross-buy, so I'd be shocked if this one wasn't cross-buy as well. Like that's a deal breaker for a lot of people. You know that we see it every day on the Discord. Like people trying to decide whether or not they're going to buy something, and then the cross-buy. It's cross-buy. Okay, well, I mean, I get 2 copies, so I might
There
as
you
well
go.
pick it up.
Cross-buy supported
go.
on Rift. So
Yep, there you go. Boom.
There you go.
Boom.
I think it's pretty much cross-buy that's keeping the Rift platform afloat at this point, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks again, BitPlanet Games, for answering all of our questions and hanging out in the chat. Super cool. Glad to have you.
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
absolutely.
Anyway, why don't we get into what the meat and potatoes, what everybody came for? Let's talk a little bit about PlayStation VR 2. And as I said at the top, we've kind of beaten all of these topics to death already separately, but now we've got AJ here, the expert, right?
I get to join in on the beating now.
So where do we start here, AJ? We recently got news that through December, Sony has now sold 17.5 million PlayStation 5s, which, you know, a little bit of arithmetic and add in a little bit of speculation. Or by the time fall gets here, what do you think we'll be at? 25, 30 million consoles at least? Do you think that that's enough? Because it's not a given that we're going to get this thing this year. And I think if you ask anyone, what's Sony waiting for with regards to releasing PlayStation VR 2, most people will say, well, they're waiting to have enough of a PS5 install base. In your opinion, is 30 million consoles enough to kind of kick off this next generation of VR for PlayStation?
I would say personally for me, yes, absolutely. I think a lot of people make the mistake of comparing the PSVR 1 launch and the attachment rate with that. They compare that like all the time when people like hardly even knew what VR was. And I think there's a big difference now. I think you look at the success that the Quest is having, and it shows that people are starving for good VR content and hardware and software. And so I feel like they could have started a little bit sooner. They can start a lot sooner this time around. Now, are they going to do that? That's the big question up in the air. And obviously the big thing that people always come back to is the whole supply chain issues and stuff. You know, if PS5s were on the shelf right now, like at any store you go to, it would make more sense. Or it would be like a no-brainer, right? But with them not even having the ability to get PS5s on store shelves, that's where we're in trouble a little bit, and that's where that's where Sony needs to get it together and figure out some way to have a solution. And I've criticized Sony and the leadership over there several times. Yes, I'm like this crazy fan of theirs and everything. I love their products and everything, but I'm not like afraid to criticize them as well. And I would just love to see the leadership, where possible, be able to come up with a solution. It's been almost we're coming around on 2 years now, or we're over a year since the PS5 launch. And the people in charge over there need to have a solution. It is their job to have a solution for this situation. And if they can't do that, then they are not doing their job well. To answer your question, yes. I think 30 is plenty, and I think you can sell this as a peripheral on the side and let it just grow organically. It has the hardware. The PSVR, you know, it did some great things, but it is also, it wasn't ready for prime time, like the big stage. And so I think it had this natural evolution, this experimental phase that they learned a lot from. But PSVR 2 seems to have all the tech that's needed that for a viable like VR platform. And yeah, but the issues, before you can even talk about PSVR, the issues are, there's so many issues ahead of that, and that's the problem that we've been running into.
Yeah, I think it's the adoption rate is going to be much higher now too, don't you think? There's a ton of PlayStation players that probably went and said, "Well, let me go get a Quest until PlayStation VR 2 comes out, and then they'll move back to that platform." You know what I mean?
Yep.
They wanted, somebody who played flat and played only console flat for forever and didn't want to get into the what can be a hassle with the PlayStation VR. And they said, "No, I'm never going to do that." But maybe they jumped over to a $300 Quest, or they were given one for a Christmas present, or whatever. Now they're into VR. Bam, they moved themselves back over, where you did not have that adoption rate with the first PlayStation VR. Comparatively, it was a fairly small number, even though it was a huge number. But compared with the console sales, that was a small number. So I think the adoption rate will be much, much higher this time, even though maybe they don't have as many consoles on the market right now.
A lot's happened in 5 years in VR, right? I mean, the whole profile is completely huge. A lot more people know it exists. So I'm betting that a lot of these people that have PlayStation 5s are already looking at the PSVR 2. You know what I mean? Even if they may have even tried the first one and played it for a while, and like Wolf Raza said, this is gimmicky, and put it in a closet and didn't give it its chance. They should have. But they're gonna hear about all these titles coming out, right? All their favorites. And Half-Life Alyx. I mean, a lot of people don't take that into consideration. I'm sure you, AJ, as a PlayStation VR lover, like, you wanted to play that on the PlayStation VR so bad, right, when it came out. Now, a lot of people that are going to get a chance to. I guarantee it's going to come. Well, I can't guarantee it, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty solid given. The thing is, though, I think that the hardware itself could go a long way. I mean, even the thing is that I think they're going to want to do it the Sony way, and they're going to want to try and sell a large quantity at launch, and as fast as they can. That's what their strategy was with PlayStation 5. That's probably what their strategy is going to be here. But I really think VR is its own little platform, and I think even if you pushed out the headset with just a couple titles, I really feel like over time it would really evolve into this like just juggernaut of a platform, and it can grow. It can be the slow growth, the way, instead of just trying to go big right at launch. But they kind of have both options, and it doesn't surprise me that a large corporation like them wants to go big with it, have this flashy extravaganza and stuff. But again, you look at what's going on even before their PSVR 2 device, and you look at the things like them having to deal with the supply, things like them having to deal with like stuff like this Activision being bought and Bethesda being bought. They're losing really strong like shareholders and stuff. They lost like 20 billion in the market. So like the problem is I feel like they got a little, either they were in this transitional phase and they weren't really like prepared and ready and like really ahead of the game, or they just got complacent and they've been comfy and fat and getting fat and comfortable and just kind of waiting to react to something. And now they're getting to the point to where they actually have to react, and because they're going to lose players, they're going to lose players, they're going to lose their flashiness, and flashiness kind of sells.
Well, we've noticed over the last year to 2 years this kind of subtle movement on the part of Sony toward the PC gaming marketplace. We're starting to see 2-year-old Sony exclusives show up on Steam, show up on the Epic Store. Do you think that that's part of their strategy for dealing with hardware shortfalls? Is by moving beyond the confines of console exclusivity?
Well, you've seen stuff like them bringing, some games to PC, and I don't know, man. There's this weird like monopoly war that's starting to happen between them of buying, Microsoft buying them. They go and buy Bungie, and it's just I really think it's a result of an unhealthy market at the time. I mean, Microsoft did that to basically stay relevant, and it really did a lot of damage to Sony. And now Sony's trying to figure out and scramble and make moves to stay relevant. And I sure hope not everything turns into some exclusive, just like I've always loved exclusives as a Sony fan, but they've always been exclusives from first party studios that they've raised and groomed and brought up. It wasn't like, oh, they just go out and buy whoever and then just make it an exclusive. And that's kind of the bidding war that's been going on right now, and that to me is just it's what these companies are just having to do. But to me, it's not it's not really a sign of a healthy, it's not like a healthy growth, not a healthy evolution, in my opinion.
I
Yeah.
agree with that wholeheartedly. When you see Sony, like we've seen Microsoft doing this for a couple years now, and that's okay. With the way they're acquiring studios and the way that they're building up games as a service through Game Pass, they're finding a different model so that they can have some success in a industry that Sony's been dominating for a decade or more. Um, I think what's worrisome about it is when you start to see Sony reacting to what Microsoft's doing. They've never really flinched at anything Microsoft has ever done until now. This big acquisition, this billions of dollars that they paid for Bungie, this is Sony reacting to Microsoft. And I don't think that they need to do that. I think that they just need to stay the course.
Mm.
People weren't coming to them to get access to these big multi-platform games. I mean, it's nice that you have access to that stuff in the PlayStation Network, but Sony's known for big first-party exclusives, homegrown talent, and producing the best games in the world from their own studios. If they start to kind of try to follow along and do their own Game Pass and buy up all of these third-party multi-platform game studios, I agree. I think that's a big mistake. It's getting away from their identity and kind of homogenizing the game industry in the way that I really don't want to see. So yeah, I
Like a-
totally agree with
Like a lot of gaming is going streaming, and they're answering Xbox in that respect. You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of people don't realize that a lot of this hardware, as it's getting harder to get, it seems weird, but I feel like they're moving us away from hardware, at least independently owning it. Everybody will stream from the cloud. You know what I mean? And you see a lot of these big companies, even Netflix, kind of setting themselves up and to do this. And we'll see how it all goes. I for one want to own my own hardware, but if it starts to get harder and harder to get a hold of, then it may be something they're pushing towards.
The problem when they react to some of these, like if they are reacting, is that when they try to imitate somebody else and then they don't do it, they're not really good at imitating others. I mean, you look at what they did with like portable devices and stuff, and how that didn't do well. They try to copy if they try to copy this live service model from like this Netflix of gaming that Microsoft is trying to do, and if they do it but it's like worse than Game Pass, then that's going to make them look even worse. And at the end of the day, like I don't really have, like I'm not a Sony investor, and so like I don't really care if they make money or not. I mean, like the only thing I care about is that like PSVR is successful and developers have a strong platform that's healthy to grow organically. And like really, that's where my concern lies. And so all this other stuff, the only reason I would care about it at all is because like if it affects the VR space in a negative way. Other than that, I mean, they could. I don't really care what they do. I don't care how much money they make or lose. There's no reason like that I would care. Other than just the games and the hardware are really what I've always cared about. And I worry sometimes that I feel like this constantly, and I bug Brian on the phone about this all the time, that I really worry that I feel like sometimes that it feels like they just don't know what they're doing at times. And maybe they're like flying by the seat of their pants sometimes. And that kind of worries me. But I don't know, man. At the end of the day, I think PSVR 2 is going to be a great piece of hardware. And I think the developers, whether, I know indie developers will show up for that piece of hardware. They're going to show up big and bring us some of the best games, if not the best ones we see. But if they can nail getting, AAA devs and getting, like I said, AAA games and devs on the system, then they'll really, really hit their stride with it and bring in more and more people from the mainstream audience.
Yeah. I was going to say my biggest fear with all these, buying all these huge, devs, buying all these huge IPs, everybody thinks, when they buy them, that their favorite game that they do automatically is coming to that platform. They could easily enough just never go back to these. A lot of times they're buying the company to keep it out of other people's hands. Doesn't mean you're going to get Destiny. It doesn't mean you're going to get this or that. They could never go back to that ever again, because a lot of times when they're doing this, they don't care about the IP. They care about the name. They care about keeping the name out of somebody else's. So just because they're buying this up doesn't mean they want to do anything with it. They may have no plans at all for it. They might, they might very well, but
they will now. Now that they bought it, they probably will. But
yeah,
I'm sure they didn't have a plan before they came up with the idea of buying them. This was I had to think about it a little bit. I do think this was just a reaction to the Activision Blizzard acquisition, just to be like, well, hey, look, we have Bungie and Destiny, we got our thing too. And I think that's all this really was. But yeah, we could as a kind of we could benefit from this as well. It does increase the chance that we get some kind of like VR Destiny or something.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Or just a game by Bungie, really talented devs.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Even though this obviously was a move to appease shareholders and put their minds at ease, why couldn't it have been Konami? Like, why couldn't it have been Konami?
I know. Capcom, Konami. There are definitely more flashier moves. I mean, that would just be like mic drop moments. I mean, this is nothing against the Bungie devs, but yeah, I mean, something like Konami or Capcom or Square Enix would like blow people's minds.
Yeah,
maybe they're working on that. It's not like Konami's been doing anything with their IPs anyway.
I was gonna say, just buy the library and just forget about Konami, because I don't think I'd want anything to do with Konami as a business. But just give me a little library.
I want them to pick up.
They can go make pachinko machines.
Pick up From, Dark Souls and stuff, man. D-Rail was saying that. I think that would be a really good pickup.
I think that one's been rumored for a while. That's probably going to happen, actually.
That's like a really hardcore player base, but in terms of sales, I don't know how From Software really does compared to like, I mean, I don't think Bloodborne compares to Call of Duty. Let's put it that way.
No,
right, man. But it won't cost them $20 billion to pick up From either, though.
True.
Like
or 68,
yeah,
or whatever, Anyway, taking a step back, I do agree. I do think that that Sony. I think the reason why the release date is even in question at all is because I do think that Sony plans on, having a much higher attachment rate with the PlayStation VR 2. But the timing is everything with that.
Right.
It's not just, I mean, it is about the hardware production issues, but not so much on the headset standpoint. Like, you know, the shortages are mainly silicone based shortages, and what that's going to affect, it's going to affect your console production. When it comes to the headsets, really, you're just sourcing mainly the displays. That's the big limiting factor with that. So if there was a high demand for the headset, they could easily switch off some of their manufacturing power to increase supplies of the headset. But the problem is, um, in order to attract people, new players in the PlayStation VR2 ecosystem, you're going to have to do that with big budget, big name titles, which obviously they're working on. These games are coming, but I'm afraid that if they launch this thing, launch PSVR2 this year, when they don't have as many consoles out there as they would like to have, that maybe they sit on those titles and hold them until they do have a bit more of a player base to sell them to. Because obviously, if they launch the games too early when there's nobody here to buy them, then they're kind of throwing money in the trash, aren't they?
Well, that's why I said you sell the headset. Like you make money if you, unless they sell it at a loss, and like unless their strategy is to sell it at a loss and gain that back through software. That's why I said you just go ahead and sell the headset, and you have like a game or two with it, and give it time to build up a player base, and then you start releasing these big budget AAA titles and whatnot. But I just don't think that's what they're gonna do. You see stuff, like this Horizon. This is the other thing, is that you see stuff like this Horizon Call of the Mountain game, and it looks really nice. The little teaser we got or whatever sounds good. The one problem is when you take one of these IPs, these popular IPs, and you do these standalones. They're doing it at like kind of like a smaller scale, most likely. It's Horizon Zero Dawn is like a 30-hour game at the least or whatever. And if you're gonna give people a AAA game and then it's like a 5-hour something, like that's gonna not really help a whole lot of stuff. I'm not saying I think it's gonna be a 5-hour game. I have no idea, but if it is, let's say like a 5-hour Horizon, like that's not gonna. I don't know how much that's gonna do for the platform in the long run. Maybe it makes a little bit of noise. It sells some headsets because people go, "Oh, I love Horizon. Let me see what it's like in VR." But what's gonna ultimately get people to sell headsets are games, and full games, stuff like Resident Evil Village converted to VR, and Gran Turismo 7 and Grand Theft Auto. Like these are the sellers, and the full experience just in VR, as being able to experience it in a new medium. So it all just depends on what they have planned, man. Which nobody knows.
That's why I can almost see them going backwards compatible with the older titles, right? I mean, think about all the money that they could recoup, even if they were going to try and sell this at a bit of a loss, or even a cost for them. They could make up all that money just with the old library. Can you imagine if everybody was going to go out and buy Rush of Blood, and they were going to go out and buy, Iron Man
remasters? They've been
Yeah,
doing
that's
they've
what I
been doing
mean.
remasters of all the PlayStation 4
Yes.
games already. So why would it be any different for the VR
Exactly.
catalog?
Yeah, if you ask me which I would rather have, if I would rather have a full backwards compatibility versus a limited number of titles fully remastered, give me the remastered all
Right.
day long.
Yeah.
People really don't care about that backwards compatibility. The people who care about those games already have headsets to play those games on.
Right.
Actually, it's kind of the opposite. It's the people that want the backwards compatibility are the ones who haven't played PSVR. Like they wanted to wait for it, and I'm like, why? Like, why didn't you just get a PSVR then? It makes no
Right.
sense to me. Like, you have this thing and you want to play this game without the PSVR 2 experience. What are you waiting for then? If you want to play last gen games on the new gen hardware, it really doesn't make any logical sense to me. And this is probably why all those data points that say, like, a lot of people say they want backwards compatibility, but then they don't actually pay for it, or it doesn't ever amount to what the people online say. It's usually like the vocal minority that say it, and it's like one of those deals to me. And Yeah, I think you're right. You know, you don't have a controller with adaptive triggers and 4K resolution headset to play a 1080 game that, you know, I think you mentioned something like Rush of Blood. Rush of Blood has issues on PS5, and like you can't just release and expect to have a good experience on that. People will say, "Oh, it's this is blurry," you know. It's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
that's the last thing I want to hear when PSVR 2 comes out." If I swear to God, if I hear like this is blurry, like I'm gonna lose my damn mind.
It's like Vaseline. It's like they smeared Vaseline on. Yeah, I got you.
Mhm.
But if they come out and they remake and remaster Rush of Blood, put adaptive triggers in it, put headset haptics in there,
Yes.
Yeah.
they can take my money all over again, right?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think honestly, backwards compatibility could be just. I mean, it's a nice marketing term to put on there. Oh, you get this whole
Exactly.
catalog, but at the end of the day, I think the games themselves might harm the platform just as much as helping it, because there's those games aren't made to
No.
support such advanced hardware. The games themselves would be holding the hardware back in
Yeah.
that scenario.
No, but you're
Um,
100% right though. It's marketing, because you can't come out and launch a platform and have 2 games available for it. And you know,
I agree with
I
that.
don't know what they're going to have, but if they have less than 10 games or less than 5 games, that's going to be an issue for some people. You know,
Well, that-
especially if it's the person that has to go out and buy everything. Okay, if it's not the person, then they already have the console, and maybe it's a different story. But if you're the person who's getting the console and the headset together, and you only have 3 or 4 games that you can play, it's a different story. Where if you were backwards compatible, you would have a whole library you can play. And you know, again, I would prefer the remasters as well. But you know, I think if you're trying to get somebody to spend upwards of $900 if you're buying the whole bundle, I think you got to have more than 2 or 3 games.
Do you really think it's
Yeah, I
only
don't.
going to be 2 or 3 games, though, man? I mean, they've been working on this forever, and just the time frame that we first
I don't.
heard rumors to when it's going to come out, I think there's going to be at least 10 games. You know what I
Maybe the
mean?
devs have only had this. They've only had these things. You know, again, we're talking about shortages and things like this. I mean, these devs have had this for probably a year, maybe. As if they
PC,
launched in the fall.
So then
PCVR
maybe,
ports.
so then maybe,
PCVR ports.
maybe then we're, yeah, and ports, Alex, whatever. Maybe we're expecting it too early then. I just don't think Sony's going to release it with 2 or 3 games. That's this isn't like
No.
that headset that
Well-
you buy that, you know, that has only the Star Wars game on it. You know what I mean? That's the only game you can play. This is Sony.
What was the launch for the PlayStation VR 1? You guys remember at all how many games?
Yeah,
They had,
it was like 20 or something.
yeah.
You
That's
think-
usually like the launch thing. But see, it's not like the thing is it's like usually 20 games, but it was like it was a lot of new IPs, fresh IPs. I mean, there was Until Dawn, Rush of Blood, there was like Here They Lie, and then there was like Tumble VR and like some other ones. I just don't think they're even, you know, even when they go at launch, I don't know, man. I don't think you sell at launch. You have maybe they do. Maybe that would be the right thing is to do the launch with Gran Turismo, with Resident Evil Village, and maybe that's hopefully what they are doing. Because if they're not, I'm gonna be pretty concerned. But
Yeah.
you know, at launch, I just don't feel like when you haven't had a chance to get that many headsets out. Then those games are, you know, that's going to be something those games have to profit and accumulate money over time versus just at launch.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to get all of the big guns at launch if there isn't enough of a PS5 install base for them to recoup cost. Now, with that said, I think we could get 1 or 2 big first party titles. We could get another handful of big third party titles like you're mentioning with you know RE8, and then PC VR ports, indie games. I think there'll be a fair library. But with that said, I don't think that they're going to take the approach of launching this thing early at all costs just to get it out by a certain date and let it languish without hype for a year before they start to really push it. I think Jim Ryan coming out on stage to debut this thing, I think that sent a message to me and to the rest of the industry that they're really going to get behind this, and I think that they're going to wait until they have the catalog to support it before they pull the trigger on it. That, and whether that means 2022 or 2023 remains to be seen. I still remain hopeful that we're going to get it this year because I do think there's a lot of benefit for them launching it earlier in the console life cycle. I mean, if you wait to the third year of the console life cycle, how much is left, right? Another 3-4 years, and then you got to start all over again.
Well, you're stunting VR's growth as a whole too, which is not good.
And you're taking a risk of your competitors coming out with, like right now, the specs that they got on this thing is going to blow everything away. And then you wait a year, and then all of a sudden everybody else has eye tracking, everybody else has haptics in the headset. I don't think they're going to sit on it. Jirilla says Tornafalo 2 VR, PSVR 2 exclusive. You heard it here.
That's just it. That's just it. You know, PlayStation's not going to launch with garbage. They got to have good games. So I mean, 20 games that are PlayStation quality games. It's a lot to ask.
Yeah. Well,
I think when I say 20 games, I mean like 20 games of like a mixture of indie games and all those dev kits that have gone out, and then you count some of the remasters, and then you have some brand new actual like PS5 games that are converted to PSVR 2, like I said, like a GT7 or a Resident Evil Village.
You just need two or three really big bangers like that, and that alone will sell. Half-Life Alyx, and give people enough to feed on, and then things will come. So I don't know.
Yeah,
absolutely. You launch with Horizon. You launch with an Astrobot game, Gran Turismo 7, RE8, and then Half-Life Alyx, maybe Grand Theft Auto, but you'll probably hold on to that one if they've got it in the thing.
You just got me so excited.
Just those alone.
I feel like you could sell the headset with just Grand Theft Auto 5 in VR.
Absolutely.
And it would just fly off the shelves.
And then you supplement it with, Samurai Slaughterhouse and Lo-Fi and all of these other indie titles that people are working on for it. Or a Runner, Runner's coming to PlayStation. Ultrawings 2, maybe even, who knows?
I don't think they're going to have trouble selling these headsets because like before you had all the enthusiasts of the PlayStation family, right? Now you have all the PC people, at least the PC people that aren't Master Race people. They're looking at this hardware and saying, "Oh my God, I gotta have this!" And then all of a sudden they find out that it's GTA 5, that it's RE8 or whatever. All these titles, that these things are going to fly off the shelf. There's going to be people that are kicking their ass because they didn't get their PlayStation 5 because maybe they get the headset, they won't be able to get the console. I mean, it's right now. I'm telling people, bro, pick it up. I don't care if it's like you better get it now. It's not going to get easier.
And there are going to be headset shortages at first until they are able to accurately assess what the demand is and then move to meet that. But I don't think that's such a bad thing in their eyes. In today's day and age, part of the perception with the consumer base is if there's a product on the shelves, who wants that, right? Everybody wants the one they can't get. So I think for this thing being scarce for a year actually is just as beneficial as it. Well, I mean, I guess it depends on how big the demand is, right? Like if they have 10 million people who want a headset and they only sell 1 million, that's kind of harmful. But if like they have 3 million people that want headsets and they only have 2 million to go around, I mean, I think that could kind of work in their favor because it keeps people talking about it, right? It keeps people clicking and searching for it. It keeps it trending as they try to get this hot item that no one can seem to get their hands on.
Scalper's Paradise. Wolveraza wants us to ask AJ what he thinks about the PlayStation VR hybrid situation.
That's a tricky one, man. If they so there's obviously both positives and negatives to what can happen here. I think in one instance you can they could be amazing. They could be. It really depends on the developer, in my opinion, and how well they implement VR and are able to convert it. You see, in some ways, there's like No Man's Sky, which is like I would have never known that was not a VR game because it was implemented so gracefully and just like I don't know, they just did such a great job. Um, and then you see stuff like this Hitman PC thing, and like that is like the nightmare. That is like the worst case scenario where you have high expectations, you have this huge popular IP that everybody's excited about, and then when the developer doesn't know what they're doing or just doesn't have the talent, doesn't do the research, whatever the reason is, when it's a really bad port, then it's depressing because it's such a wasted opportunity of so much potential, and that is like the scary scenario here. But ultimately, I think that it also can be the thing that gets like more mainstream audience into VR, especially if the developer does it right.
Right. Right, and it helps. We've beat this subject to death.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to have some of the games. Obviously, you want the majority of the games to be to seem like they're native, made from the ground up for VR games. But I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing if you're bringing in new players to give them control schemes that they're familiar with somewhat already. Kind of a half step into VR so that they don't jump, into the pool on the deep end and then start drowning immediately and then get back out. And with regards to Hitman, you know, eh, obviously there was a lot of valid criticism of the PC port of Hitman, but I think a lot of that was overblown. Honestly,
Yep.
the PC VR version of Hitman is the best version of Hitman. I'm having a blast with it.
Just imagine this, AJ. Imagine if you decided and I don't know what the best way to play on the PlayStation VR is. Like Wes gets his camera set in a perfect way. Imagine if you know that the camera should be up high, or vice versa, down low, and you decided, fuck it, I'm putting it up high, it needs to be low, or vice versa, and then said, man, this PlayStation VR version sucks. Because it would suck, because the tracking would be fucked, right? Well, same thing with the PC version. If you decide to stand up and start moving around and doing weird shit, it's designed to be a seated game, right? For the PlayStation VR. So they ported it over as a seated game, and people are trying to do room scale with it. And then they're wondering why everything's fucked up. I honestly never even noticed there was a problem with it. And I came out of playing it for 2 hours thinking, it was amazing, and everyone was shitting on it, and I was like, I felt like I was in Bizarro world, upside down.
Yeah.
But because I played it as designed, so I get how people shit on it, but at the same time, it's kind of weird because it's a better version than the PlayStation VR version, in almost every way, but it's the same version. But the same people that loved it on PlayStation VR shit on it for PC, and that's where the disconnect for me is.
Well, then I think, the problem here is that I'm assuming here. So I could be wrong. I might have to take that back because I didn't actually play it. I just heard all the chatter about it. And I assumed that it was pretty bad going by some of the things I heard about. So I wish I had maybe a better example of a game where, it gets converted to VR and it's just terrible. I'm sure there are plenty of examples. I just can't think of any right now for some reason. But and I'm expecting some rough edges, some limitations from games being converted. But I also think from the developers I've talked to and stuff that they really doesn't sound like it's so like let's say like LA Noire, the VR case files, for instance. They tried to take LA Noire, Rockstar did, and they brought it to and they brought it to VR. And there's certain things that you would really get a lot of satisfaction and enjoyment because of what you can do. I've always thought what makes VR special is because the things you can do in the game are things you can only do in VR, which is stuff like reaching out, having two hands, interacting, feeling the world, and then of course just being immersed in the world. And there's stuff in that game where it's like, you know, you want to climb up a pole on the side of the thing, and you like click on the pole and it blinks and you go up there. It's like, no, I want to like grab the pole and like climb up it, or like, you know, when a cutscene's happening and it rips you out of first person and then shows the cutscene in third person, and it's just like immersion breaking. And I think that developers, the problem is that I don't think enough developers just yet, maybe, I don't know how confident I am in all these developers knowing what we like or knowing what makes VR really cool and special just yet. And I think something like this Hitman version, I saw them come out and say, we are assessing this version of Hitman on PC, and we're going to take a look at it and see what ways we can improve it. And I think that is just another sign of VR still being kind of in the early ages, where not every developer just knows what works and what feels good and feels right. But I think you got to get there somewhere. You got to start somewhere, and even if it's kind of forcing the thing, and some games are going to pull it off better than others, then so be it. At least I feel like you are making progress to some degree. And you know, if there are issues, people are going to let them know about it.
I would almost assume that their hybrid program would probably have to be mainly their bigger studios, right? It would be tough to tell an indie dev that, hey, you need to all, you know, make that flat game in VR when they maybe only have 3 or 4 people on their, you know, in their team. So, you know, I got to figure that most of these hybrid games are going to be bigger development studios who have the resources to be able to put a whole team of VR people just on making that part of the game. Yeah, I mean, I just gotta hope that these people find the right people, find the fire sprites, find these devs that know what they're doing when they're making VR games, you know, and not just winging it.
I hope so, because
That's the key.
the LA Noir was a perfect example, man. I played the flat version; it was so amazing, and then so much weirdness around the port, and even just the fact that they didn't let you do everything. Like in the flat version, man, I could like manipulate the body in all sorts of ways, and that sounds weird. Let me let me clarify. You're a detective, you know, you're picking it up, you're looking at the back of their arms, you're looking at so many different aspects. You really felt like you were actually a detective. And then you get into the other game and they limited you in so many different ways that they didn't need to do. And I think it was rookie. It was exactly what you're saying, AJ. Even worse so, because even it was Rockstar. It was 5 years before now, or 6 years, I guess now. I think they've learned a lot in the industry, but they definitely need have a long way to go. And I guess some of these companies like Firesprite, and they really do know. They need to start bringing some of these experts in to port these games over, or at least maybe learn the tricks. I don't know.
That's the bottom line, is that, you know, you can choose the biggest studios in the world, you know, the exclusive, you know, top cream of the crop AAA studios in the world to try to do these hybrid games, but it doesn't always matter how much money and how many people you throw at it if you have zero experience making VR games. And you know, Hitman's an example of that, but a better example of that would have been Medal of Honor Above and Beyond last year, that came out from Respawn Entertainment, which is a world-renowned studio who's made some of the best games we've ever seen. Got murdered when that game launched on the Steam VR because they made a lot of really dumb rookie mistakes that just don't go over well in a VR game. Now, since then, they've taken into account the feedback like any great studio does, and they've corrected those problems. But yeah, I agree. Hopefully, at least for the early stages of software support on PlayStation VR 2, Sony's being a bit selective with which studios that they, or at least, you know, Sony's always been. Go ahead.
That's the problem, is that they don't have I would feel so much better if I knew for sure they had someone experienced there that was kind of curating the games that get turned or converted, and that's the problem. Is like the sloppiness that occurs, like with some of the stuff, the certification process, and like even some of the stuff that gets through certification, I'm just like, how did this make it through? Because they're usually pretty good with the curation and stuff of their games, but yeah, they don't have somebody to say they. It's like they've never had someone that this has to go through and get approved, and it's like no, hey, by the way, you need to have smooth turning in this game, or hey, you need to make sure you have an option to turn these blinders off. They've never had that. If anything, it's the opposite. They've always said you need to make sure this has blinders, or you need to make sure this has snap turning. And yeah, and it really, for me, those things actually not only do they break the immersion, but they actually cause me more discomfort. Just like stuff like teleportation. It makes me sick because my play style, I'm a like a Twitch style gamer where I love like fast gameplay that you kind of like easy to learn, hard to master. And then so I move really fast when I play games. And so when I play games that have click turning and teleport, it's like click 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 turn 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 turn, and like it's so unnatural to me and actually makes me sick. And I feel like I understand. I've got nothing against those options to be in there, but it needs to be an option, and I just don't feel like they have somebody. Hopefully, like you said, Fire Sprite is great and all, but the only game Fire Sprite we have to go by was the persistence, which I love. The persistence
gamepad game, right?
A gamepad game, and that's what worries me about that acquisition, or about that group, is like that is I know they can make the game and the content, but when it comes to being like a interactive VR game, yeah, it was a built from the ground up game for VR, and it still used the gamepad, and so that's the kind of stuff that kind of worries me sometimes. That not everybody can be like a Saint Sitters, or some of these VRAF games, like we like to say.
It just makes it makes me think, though. I mean, Sony is all in with VR. They have put all, I think they really think that this is going to be the way you're going to be playing your games on the Sony games in the future. So I just can't see them allowing any of these games to come out that are not going to be right on the system. They're going to curate. You're right. They're going to curate this. I mean, to see them come out with a brand new headset with all this beautiful technology and fall flat in their face with the games is not Sony. They've never done that. It's all about the games with them. It's all about how great the games are.
Yeah.
It's all about the content. So I just can't see them letting that go. And this is very weird that I'm defending Sony as the Quest guy, and AJ is all over Sony. So this is really weird, man.
Topsy-turvy word. Things get weird after midnight, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Cheers, man.
With that said, I would love to just sit and do another 2 hours on PlayStation VR 2. So many more things I'd love to talk to AJ about here with regards to PlayStation VR 2. I'd like to talk to him about the subpixel arrangement and the displays. We don't know about that yet. Maybe he's heard something. I'd love to talk about the wire, and not the fact that there is a wire, but the fact that it's a USB-C wire, which means it's going to plug right nicely into a PC. Is that by design? Does that point to Sony maybe having designs on supporting PC VR with this headset, or maybe even bringing their games to the PlayStation games to PC on a brand new PlayStation PC platform? There's so many things we could talk about. But guys, we have 2 great releases to talk about, and we haven't even started yet, and we're 90 minutes into the show. So I'm going to have to insist that we shelf this conversation for a later date and move along to these awesome titles, because guys, I don't know if you played Wanderer. Well, actually, I do know that you played Wanderer. This game released last Wednesday, I think, or Thursday. From M Theory and was it Odd Boy?
Odd boy.
And I would like to not thank them for providing us with the review key, but rather thank our community for providing us with the review key. It was thanks to your support through tips on the YouTube chat and Patreon that we were able to pick this game up on launch and try it out. And quite frankly, I'm glad that we did because I have been having a blast in this game. I'm hooked on it. I haven't been able to put it down. I've got about 10 hours into it. I haven't finished it yet. But before I let Ruuts talk about it, before I let Eric talk about it, AJ, did you have as good an experience in Wanderer as I have?
Dude, I legit thought that this might be one of the best VR games ever made when I was playing it. I have a weird way of describing this game. First of all, I was absolutely blown away by this game. I think it's brilliant. It's way better than I ever was expecting it to be. I was hoping it was going to be good, but I was cautiously optimistic, and it more than exceeded my expectations. And I think it is actually like one of the best games on VR, period.
Yeah, I had some concerns about it. Judging by the promo material, I was concerned that maybe it was going to be a bit restrictive in terms of the map size and the movement. Like they didn't show a lot of locomotion in the early trailers. I thought I was a bit worried that it might be kind of like a node based or teleportation based escape room type game, which I mean, it's got full locomotion, but I mean, the maps are a little bit limited compared to some other games. And it is kind of an escape room, but it has a nice twist on it that makes it unique from most other games of this type out there. So yeah, I agree. It exceeded my expectations by a mile, and I've really been enjoying it a lot. Eric, first impressions on Wanderer?
It's probably one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen. I would say it probably rivals Half-Life Alyx in the visuals and what it looks like, which I was completely shocked
in the
by.
environments,
In the environments,
sure.
yeah. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I mean. Like when there's a scene early on where you open a set of blinds in the first room you're in, and you look out onto this ruined, sunken city. It reminded me so much of walking out on that balcony and looking at City 17 in the early parts of Half-Life Alyx. I got the same vibe and the same feel. This game is absolutely gorgeous, but it's rivaled by the controls and by everything is so easy to manipulate. I mean, you can manipulate absolutely everything in this environment, which is shocking. I mean, there's nothing I don't think that you can't touch.
I mean, you can touch everything, and your hand doesn't pass through stuff. But I mean, you can't like pick everything up. Like you can tell what you can handle and what you can't by this highlight. The things that you can handle start to glow yellow, and you can turn that off. By the way, those of you who think that might be immersion breaking, but let me just offer a bit of a warning to you. If you do turn that off, you're never going to finish this game.
You need to turn that off the second time you play it.
Yeah.
This is this is a game. It's kind of like a series of ultra large escape rooms, each one in a different era, in a different time period from history, and they're all intertwined. It's kind of like that Back to the Future adventure that you always wanted to play in VR. It's absolutely the best use of time travel I've ever seen in VR. And kind of the premise here is that you're going to visit one level, one era, one time period, all of which, by the way, are out of whack. There's something wrong with them. I don't want to give too much of the story away, but every era, every scene that you go to, there's something very bad wrong with it. And you're trying, as a time traveler, as someone who has this special ability, you're trying to put things right in every scene. But in order to do that, you have to jump from this time to that time to that time, and you can do so freely. Like it's up to you. You kind of have this apartment which is your base, and you're going into one scene to collect items, bring back with you to your base, and then try to think of creative ways to use these items in the other time periods and the other scenes. Um, AJ, I was blown away at just how creative the puzzling was, yet simplistic. Like, it was challenging, and it's been challenging, but I never felt like completely frustrated with it. Even when I was stumped for a little while, I never got frustrated with it. I've been having fun with it. Uh, and it was something I never got stuck for too long. Right, I would spend a few minutes, and then it would occur to me what it is that I need to take back with me, and then as most of these good puzzle games do, instant gratification as soon as you figure it out. Right.
Well, yes, but I will say that I I think so. The When I said I had a weird way of describing this game, and I mean this in the best way possible, I feel like a I feel like it is a flawed masterpiece. Is kind of how I describe it, because I do think it's a masterpiece, but I think in some ways it's so ambitious. It tries to do so much to push the envelope that's where it actually creates some of the flaws that it has. And now, granted, some of the biggest frustrations I had with the game were due to just some bugs from the pre-launch version, and so those got patched out. So when I heard about when they said that, and when we got confirmation that those were no longer issues, I was like, okay, that's then this is in a pretty good place. But there are some little things and some game designs. I think what it suffers most from is some quality of life features and a little bit of game design like polish. Where when I was first playing it, I was like, wow, this is so perfect in that, like, I'm so excited to go on this story driven adventure, and it feels like, at first especially, it feels so like accessible. Like, to me, I was like, this feels like the kind of game that anybody could get into VR and, like, just understand and get what VR is all about. I think this game is what VR is really all about, or at least that's what it mostly tries to do. But yeah, man, the thing is, though, I agree with you 100%. The rewarding feeling of pushing through this game, and even when I was frustrated, when I kept going and kept going, I was just like, just mind blown. And I was like, all those frustrations and little things that I had here and there were just whoop, out the window, because I was like, this is special.
Yeah, yeah. As you go on, it gets better too. Not only in terms of the story, but the complexity of the puzzles. Um, it builds. And again, I haven't finished it. I've got a good chunk of time in it. I haven't finished it yet. But it builds and it builds and it builds. But you're right. It is not perfect. There are flaws. Mine that I experienced relatively minor. But Roots, yours not so much, right?
Yeah, no. Well, what's weird is I'm hearing this amazing, like, fantastic experience for everybody here, and apparently I didn't even make it into the real game because I never saw the apartment, and and I don't even know. I wish I knew what the bugs you encountered pre-launch, AJ, because the bugs I encountered, I'm not the only one that's had them, and let me know in the comments or the chat if you've encountered any of these before as well, because it's all around that fucking skiff, man. I was blown away too, man. I got into the story. I'm like, I'm gonna go Tesla. I'm gonna, like, all this stuff. As it's unfolding, I'm thinking, oh my god, this is amazing. And then all of a sudden, I'm glitching on the side of the raft, and I can't jump off to get to, like, the ledge to go to the apartment. And like Mash said, one time I got stuck on the boat, and I actually kept going with her and went into some black void, and it froze. And so I must have started my game over, or I guess I say started over. I restarted the area back to where I've got to get the flares and all that stuff like 7 or 8 times. And every time I kept glitching and kept getting stuck on that fucking raft. And to the point where I just said, you know what? I've spent an hour now trying to do this. I'm done. So I didn't get to see any of the cool stuff. I didn't get to go time travel. Didn't get to see one fucking puzzle. So I'm a little salty about it. And the bad thing is everybody's raving about this game. I know the game is good. I just want them to fix those bugs. And I guess Technoglitch, maybe you ran into this before, because he was saying he had to switch to teleport a couple of times. So maybe that's my problem, is I'm just not allowed to walk off the skiff. I have to teleport or something. I don't know, man. But I am looking forward to going in and checking this out. I love time travel, and I want to see more of this story. I'm just a little put off that that there's these, to me, game-breaking bugs, but everybody else will say, oh, well, it's not a game-breaking bug. You just need to do this, 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 and this to get around it. And one of the suggestions was to load a save that's further in the game. Well, motherfucker, I haven't gotten further in the game. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand how that's possible. So that's my rant.
That's not a valid tip.
No,
it's not a valid tip. But it is. I mean, the game is amazing from what everybody's telling and saying, and from what I experienced up to the point where I glitched. It's good enough to where, you know me, Wes. If it's janky like this, if it sucks, I'm done forever. But I'm listening to you guys talk about it. I want to go back in there right now, because I'm missing something.
I hope you do, because I do know that you love time travel stories the way that I do, and you're gonna dig this. Even not being the biggest person on puzzle games, AJ's not the biggest person on puzzle games either.
Me too.
I hate puzzle games.
Me too.
And everybody agrees that the way this is done is so unique. It's a lot like Flow Weaver. Like the gameplay, like the strict nuts and bolts gameplay of it is a lot like Flow Weaver, where you're jumping back in between the scenes and you're grabbing an item from this scene and taking it into the other one to try to solve the puzzle. But it's like 10 times more creative and expansive than Flow Weaver was. Flow Weaver's like a warm up to what this game is, and the story here is it's amazing. But I did experience some bugs as well. I had a couple of occasions where the game just crashed on me, and I had to reload it.
That's what hard to get. Said he lost 3 hours of progress in a crash.
Yeah, I had to play through about 30 or 45 minutes over again because of a bug, and it wasn't even a crash. There's a specific level when you get toward the end of it and you're about to finish the level. For those of you who don't know, the way that you travel in and out of these levels is you take these antiquities, they're called, and you place them in the underside of your watch. And the way that you leave the level is you press a button, it pops it out, and you pull it out. As soon as you pull it out of your watch, you're back in your apartment again. But there's this one specific level that whenever you solve the main big puzzle at the end of it, you have to take an item and go back to the beginning of the level to complete the level by talking to someone, right? Between the point where you've solved the puzzle and go back to the beginning of the level, it will not let you pull the antiquity out of the watch.
Ooh.
It makes you finish the level, which is fine. The only problem is there was an item that I needed to get out of that room that I had already taken back to the apartment. So the thing that I need, not in the room with me, I can't go back and get because the watch won't give me the thing back. So I was stuck there in the room. Nothing I could do. I already knew what to do to finish the level, but I couldn't do it because I couldn't get back to the apartment. So I had to voluntarily restart the chapter, which took me about 30 or 45 minutes to play my way back up to that point. And it made it even more frustrating because there were other certain items when I booted back into the chapter from other levels that I had already brought back into my apartment that were now back out into those levels. So I had to go collect all that stuff again. Things weren't where I had my stuff organized out in my apartment, so I knew where everything was. It was all just kind of scattered out everywhere, and I had to look for it and find it. So that was a very frustrating one for me.
That's one of the design flaws that I was kind of mentioning, is that it almost tries to give you so much freedom that it almost like it almost could have used a little less freedom to be able to do that. Because of that happening, or
It's got the bonework syndrome.
It didn't have like a safeguard for that happening. That was like when I say there's some design flaws, it's missing some quality of life features. That kind of safeguard is one of the things that I think is like fundamentally flawed in the game design, that they didn't come up with a viable solution to have for that kind of scenario. They do have one, but it causes you to restart from at least 45 minutes or longer. Or it can.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just saying, it's got the bonework syndrome, right? They try to do a little bit too much. Same thing with Boneworks. Boneworks gets frustrating because they try to make things so super accurate and realistic and physics be perfect. Same thing here. If they dial it back just a little bit, it would be probably been better.
Yeah, it's like if you're going to do something like this, it needs to be perfect, right? Like it can't have this kind of a flaw that costs people time like this. I don't know about you guys, but I don't have all that much time to play video games. And the fact that I put as much time into this as I have, I only share that because the viewers know. I typically I'll come on here and say I played a game for 4 hours, and this is what my early impressions are. If I'm telling you I've put 10 hours in it and I'm going to go back and finish it, that automatically tells people how good this game is. Like, I'm hooked on it. Like, I am going to finish this game regardless. Even if I have to start over another level and redo it all.
It's worth it.
There are things that I'm stumped on right now that I have no idea how I'm going to figure out how to do this stuff. But I'm sure the game's going to give me enough clues that I'm going to be able to put it together and continue to progress. But the story's getting awesome. Another, I guess, one more kind of nitpicky problem I had with it. I'm the type of guy with puzzle games that I don't want hints. I do not want hints. Don't give me hints. I want to figure it out on my own. And they have a hint feature built into the game, which I'm fine with. I'm fine with there being an option for hints. The problem is that in order to take your watch, which is a central character in this game, not only a character that you talk with, but it's a central device in a lot of the technology you're using in this game. In order to take it out of its socket and put it into different slots where you need to use it, you have to press the hint button,
right?
Which it doesn't always give you a hint, which is great. But sometimes I'm just getting this thing out because I want to upgrade it. Now it's giving me hints. Like, I don't want these hints, bro. I think you should be able to disable that. Maybe there's an option to disable it. I just didn't see it. But again, that's another small nitpick that really pissed me off a couple times.
Did you see this guy in this video? He just like fucking nonchalantly just strolled right off of that skiff onto this thing like he's better than me.
Blah 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 blah
No,
blah.
that was the wrong
This
button.
man legitimately thinks that he is better than us.
I don't know, man. I want to go to the apartment west right now. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's I hate to say it, man, but yeah, it's like you didn't get past the tutorial.
I didn't get past the tutorial. I couldn't, man. It wouldn't let me off the thing.
Yeah, that sucks. That's unfortunate, like technical issue thing. But I mean, immediately though, when you start this game, it wants you to go to this certain point. It wants you to meet somebody on a raft or something, a skiff, and on the way there alone, I mean, there's like rooms with so much stuff to like interact with. I mean, I think it took me like an hour to get to that skiff just because there was so much shit to play with and mess with on the way there. I mean, there's like even like a chalkboard that like really works, and
I wrote on that. I stopped I stopped and wrote on that.
Letters to read and letters to read and letters to read. I had to stop reading stuff just because there was so much of it.
Well, and the pictures on the walls. I mean, and all the little like there was like these little files that were had things open, and you could actually read all the writing on it, which is amazing. It's not all blurred out crap. There's actually stuff on there if you take the time, look at some of these desks and look at some of these files. There's some cool shit in there.
I was on PSVR, so I don't think I was able to read anything, but it still looked really good though.
Yeah, right.
Derulo says that West no like his helper watch coaching gaming for him. You know what? To make it even worse, the guy talks like Foghorn Leghorn. Like he's got this terrible accent. AJ, you're
I
from
thought you sound
Georgia.
like Matthew McConaughey.
Did you appreciate the Foghorn Leghorn accent on the watch?
I said, oh, dude, oh man, Colonel Sanders, yeah, the Colonel Sanders watch, dude, I love that. I mean, and he had like he cracked some good jokes. He got some jokes now. But yeah, man, no, I'm from the South. I thoroughly loved the design of Samuel and yeah, how he's just like this Colonel Sanders hybrid with the Pringles guy or Monopoly guy, and then like all into a watch. And I love some of the jokes he cracked, and he was just like, I don't remember what he would say. All this like Southern slang, Southern twang. He had this like Southern twang stuff. Yeah, I loved it, man. I thought it was a great. Usually those little bot helpers and stuff in games and like VR games are so freaking annoying, and they're so not helpful. They're just like yapping at you all the time. But at least he had like decent stuff to say, and like the voice acting in the game overall was pretty good. So yeah, I was big fan. I feel like this is like the only game that ever got like the robot assistant with you or whatever, like right.
Yeah, I typically don't like the Higgs assistants either. The one in Killing Floor Incursion is the worst. Like I hate that one. I beat it to death. It won't ever shut up. With the exception of Claptrap. Like I don't like Claptrap. That's probably the worst one that I've ever. Anyway, that's a different tangent. Did you unlock all the resurfacing variants in the little box there?
Resurfacing variants?
Like you can change the skin on the watch by collecting items.
Yeah. So I would have, but again, it was due to some technical issues. I think I got most of them, but having run into a couple bugs that were patched, to be fair, like I said, before when the game actually launched. Yeah, I got most of them, but a couple things that I ran into caused me to restart it from a certain chapter, and then when you would restart a chapter, then I would be like missing some of those, and so I never got the full collection. But I enjoyed searching for those things and bringing them back and using those and getting whatever it was, finding out in the world whatever I needed to craft or upgrade stuff.
Yeah, the only reason I ask is areas for improvement, non-technical. Bugs aside, areas for improvement, ways that they can make this better in a sequel. Let's say. Really, there's only a couple of things that I could even think of that I would want to change about this. One, I would like to have the ability to technically upgrade the watch. I'd like for me to be able to add more abilities and functions to the watch character, because really you can add more storage space to it, or you can reskin it. I would have liked for the thing to be a little bit more intricate into the puzzles and things that you're doing in the game. My biggest complaint and area for opportunity is what I mentioned earlier. Obviously, I love exploration, and the maps were bigger than I thought they would be, but they're still a bit confined, honestly. Some of them very much so. Some of them are really small. I would have liked for the levels to be more like the World War II level with all the rooms. I felt that was a good size level. I would like for a lot more of the other levels to be the size of that one, and to really kind of balloon out the scope of the game and really add to the exploration element of it. Erica, any areas for opportunity from you on this one?
Jeez, I mean, there's small minor issues, and it just goes to speak of how great this game is that we all still are amazed by this game, and we have a couple of issues. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's just that good. I mean, I have, the same issues that you guys are saying I've had. I did have a glitching issue on the boat with like Ruuts did. It only happened to me once, but I did have that. So there's some small stuff I think they could fix, but God, I'd hate to nitpick such a good game. You know what I mean? I don't want to eat apart this game and just sit here and shit over little tiny things. I'd rather just celebrate what it does amazingly and say that everybody needs to go buy this game. I'll tell you what, I'm not a puzzle fan. AJ said he's not a puzzle fan, and I want to play this game. I want to finish. The story behind this game is so good, and I've just started scratching the surface of what I think it's going to be. Yeah, I mean, everybody really needs to play this game, even if you're not a puzzle fan, and it's really that good. I think possible game of the year contender already.
Yeah, it's kind of like having Lone Echo, except for the stuff that you're actually doing is fun and difficult and challenging, right? Like
That's
it's got
agreed.
all the stuff. It's got all the stuff that Lone Echo has from a production standpoint. Maybe it's not quite as good looking as Lone Echo is,
That's
but
pretty
it's
close.
close. It's close, but the gameplay leagues ahead, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And I think it's probably as good as Lone Echo. I mean, the character models of some of the a few of the character models I've seen so far were really, really good. Just like Lone Echo, and the environments are beautiful, man.
I thought the chick in the beginning
AJ,
was weird on
let's-
the skiff. The chick looked kind of weird to me.
She's
I
a
don't
little
know.
out of proportion, but I thought
Yeah.
her face looked really good though.
Yeah,
she's
it
just a little
was.
homely.
She was like she was too big or something. It was weird.
Dude, 2069 is a rough year to live in, bro.
That's true.
Yeah.
You know.
That's true.
AJ, any non-technical areas for improvement you'd like to see in, say, a sequel or DLC or anything?
Non-technical improvements.
Like anything about the game that you would have liked to have been different. So to speak.
I think I almost wanted to say like maybe some of like the storytelling or something like, but it was pretty good. I think making me care about some of the characters I probably could have like cared a little bit more for. But I don't know, man. I think the controls, I don't know how the controls are on PC, but on the PSVR, they could have definitely been a slightly better.
Oh, yeah.
It was kind of like you said, like so to me, some of the environments were like some of the best I had ever seen. And then, you mentioned a couple, and in some ways I agree, but I like how they were more expanded, they were bigger, but I also thought that there were a couple sections where it's like, okay, these just kind of look like the basic Unity assets that were just kind of
Right.
used. Like there's some of the most stunning looking stuff, and you can really tell the parts that they like hand polished and handcrafted, and then there's a couple small parts in there where it's like, yeah, this is just like straight out of the store and placed in here. And it's like, where did all that fantastic lighting and stuff go? But to be honest with you, no, I mean, not really. I really, really love this game. I love that it feels more like an adventure than it does a puzzle game. And those are my favorite kinds of VR puzzle games, are the ones that like I don't even realize I'm doing a puzzle. You guys were talking about the Room VR Dark Matter, and that is very much you have a puzzle in front of you and you just figure it out. And this is like the adventure is part of the puzzle to figure out in this game. And no, not really, man. I really, really love this game, and I'm with you guys in that this is already like a contender for game of the year. Even if it doesn't win, I think it deserves to be in that bracket in contention for it. But we got a long year to go, so
Yeah.
I think
things could change.
it says a lot for Hitman 3 too, by the way. Just on a quick aside here, the fact that Hitman 3 won Game of the Year last year after being launched in January,
Yeah.
I mean, that deserves a big. And think about the year before. The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners came out in January, lasted the whole year, held off recency bias. And a lot of people said Half-Life Alyx. We said The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners because of the multi-platform. It's great. It's the best game on every platform, not just on PC, but yeah, I think that a good game, do I think Wanderer is going to be the game of the year this year? I don't know. But I do think it deserves to be in the conversation. And I think that it will be. I think it's that good.
Yeah.
Ruuts, anything you want to add on Wanderer before we moved on?
No, I'm excited to check it out. I can't wait. No. At least to actually get past the tutorial, like AJ said, because that's how I feel. I feel like I got to the edge of the tutorial, and the bitch wouldn't let me off her skiff. And she smiled too, Wes, when she wouldn't let me off. When I was glitching, she was just like, "Okay, I'm late." Like, I don't know, man. I just want to punch her, but I don't want to do that. So
she was smiling like she was better than you, huh?
Yeah.
Our friend Gamertag VR joining us in the chat. What's up, GT? Drillo says that he loves him some Boneworks. You know who else loves to work the bone, Ruuts?
My mom.
Somebody in the chat was actually worried that the my mom button was broke. So she just waits for the right time to come out.
Yeah. She's no tramp. She won't just come out for anything.
She's classy, bro.
Yeah, and Dark Angel says that she's got 10 hours, around 10-ish hours in this game already as well. So
wow,
she's digging it too.
Yeah,
excellent. Glad. Big recommend. You guys go pick it up. Again, it's available on PlayStation VR and PC VR currently. I think that there's a Quest version coming. Is that right, Eric?
Yeah, there is, but I am so nervous, man. I mean, so much of this game to me is the visuals and what it looks like, and I would be. I mean, here's the deal, though. It's like anything else. If you never played it on a PC and this is all you had a Quest, you're gonna be like, you won't know any fucking difference. So, you know what? I hope it does because I want everybody to be able to play this because the story is that good, and if they can get the controls right, and if they, I just don't be Rhythm of the Universe Ionia. Don't be that. Because if it's that, then I will be pissed.
You never know.
But if it's someone
that reminds me. Oh no.
You got to take a shit?
No. No, I was going to say they sent me like a review key or something for that like a week ago. And I was like, why the hell? And then I was like, oh, let me give it to your chat. And then I was like, wait, no, why would I do that to any of them? No, that's like I'd be doing them a favor just letting it get lost in my email forever.
Here's what you do. You do a Wanderer giveaway, and the person who loses gets Rhythm of the Universe.
Perfect.
It's like Wanderer,
anyway,
but the opposite.
Yeah, it's like Wanderer, but crap.
Wanderer, but not good at all. Anyway, will Wanderer be the game of the year? I don't know. Honestly, though, will Wanderer be the game of the month? I don't know because we had a lot of great games come out, not only this month, but this week as the long-awaited VR MMO Zenith, The Last City, finally launched onto all major VR platforms simultaneously. And people were lined up and had their games installed and ripping and raring to go when the game launched last week. And on launch day, I think 5 people got to play, right? It was like 5 or 6 people got to play this game on launch day.
5.
I know.
Oh yeah, I saw you were streaming it, dude. Like none of us could get in, and AJ's got like 2-hour stream going on, like it ain't no thing.
No, it went to hell. Not as soon as everyone. What it was that like I had a great start, and that was because everybody was downloading the game, and then once everybody downloaded the game, it was just like mass hysteria.
Yeah, dude, mass hysteria is correct. Like people were so pumped for this game, so pumped for it, and I didn't even try. Like I didn't even try to get into it. Maybe one time I tried to get into it, but I just was watching from a post up high as people were at each other's throats. Oh my God, it's the end of the world. There was about 5 people going, guys, it's an MMO. This is what happens on day one.
Right.
So I was like, well, you know what? I'll just go play Wanderer. And then after that, I was like, fuck Zenith. I'm not going to play that right now. And Eventually, I did get into it though, and it's interesting. Like I put more time into Zenith than I typically put into a game that we talk about on the show and give first impressions of. We don't do a lot of reviews. We give impressions. I put more time into Zenith than I typically put into these games when I talk about them. But with that said, I still feel like I'm just scratching the surface and that I'm not really qualified to talk. I feel like I need 20 hours in this game before I really even know what I'm talking about with it. AJ, I'm off base here. Is this something that you could play for 6-7 hours and really be able to accurately judge what you're playing?
Ooh, I think you could give impressions on it.
Yeah, well, my impressions are, well, let's just say this. I played this game 3 sessions, 2 moderate length sessions, and then 1 pretty good longer session, which I ended up playing with my friends. The first 2 I did not play with my friends, and I was just going through the motions, doing the tutorials, learning the controls, learning the systems, a lot of which, by the way, I would have not ever been able to understand if it weren't for your awesome video on the Underground channel, AJ. The 10 things that you that they don't tell you, or something like that, right? 10 things that they don't tell you about Zenith that you need to know. It's something to that gist. But that was a very helpful video, and for people who are struggling to get started in this game, I suggest you go watch that. There's
Thanks.
a link in the description down below. No, thank
Oh.
you for putting that out.
Yeah.
Anyway, as I was playing through this, I had a fairly good time through the initial session, as I was really kind of getting grips on the mechanics and learning about how the UI works. The second session, still playing by myself, I was bored. I was bored through the whole thing. I mean, the missions were like, just go to this spot and come back. And then you'd come back and then like, all right, go to these 3 spots and put your hand up and then come back. And I mean, I didn't have fun at all the second time that I played it. But then I came back for the third time. And when I came back the third time, I had friends with me. And I made way more progress during that session than I made than the other 2 combined. And I also had a lot more fun. And by the time I got to the end of that session, my character was a lot more leveled up. I was a lot more capable. And I started to see the potential that a game like this has. Because, I mean, even as simplistic as a lot of the things are in it, a lot of the systems are really fleshed out. And beyond that, this is a huge, huge world to explore in VR, which, you know, I'm a big fan of exploration.
Me too.
And they're still building it, right? They're still working on this game. It's like an early access game. So while my earliest initial impressions weren't the best, I can definitely see the potential in a game like this. And I do think that it's going to be a favorite over time to meet up with people in and just hang out.
Do you have experience with MMOs? What kind of? Okay.
0.
What about Eric and Ruuts?
I rated World of Warcraft for 10 years.
Yeah, Ruuts is big.
I do have a little bit of experience. That was one of the things that and one of the knee jerk reactions that Wes was talking was mine, just because I was reading up on just different things. I mean, obviously the release was a disaster. I wanted to get in and play, and I couldn't play, so I was pissed about that. So I'll tell you that right off the bat, set me in a bad mood. But then I started reading, and I found out there was no auction house. There was like an in-game currency, but nothing to really do with it. And I started realizing, for somebody that did raid World of Warcraft for 10 years, I'm always one of those people that would tell you an MMO RPG starts at max level, and it's all about the end game content. So I started getting really worried. I started thinking, okay, well, fuck, they don't even have an auction house. Where is their end game content? Am I going to spend 30, 40 hours leveling to get to, because this happens in MMOs all the time. you get to max level and there ain't shit to do, and you think, well, what did I just waste all that time level? So I spent hours. Like, how much time do I really want to sink into this game? How deep is it going to be? Are the mechanics going to be, fleshed out? I Orbis VR was super cool, but it was super confusing, and the mechanics weren't there. Like I got into this game and I'm going to heal, and the heal is working every so often, and I'm thinking it's broken. And then I even said, I was playing with, I think Mash or somebody's like, well, just ask somebody. I said, I ain't asking shit, dude. I ain't asking anybody. Said I'll figure it out. And about an hour later, as I was like still trying to figure out why can't I heal, I noticed the timer on it. And so I was trying to heal in between the time, like there's an actual timer on it, right? So I was actually really impressed once I started digging deep into the mechanics wise of it, and how everything's working. It seems like it's a pretty good system. You always wonder, how are you going to be able to heal? Like, I'm a healer at heart. And so when I played World of Warcraft, I had 25 or 24 different bars up, and all I did was, besides trying not to stand in shit, was watching those bars to keep people alive, right? And I'm thinking, how are you going to do this in VR? And so I still even wonder about that. If you get into a big enough group, it might be difficult to really... I guess it's going to be more on the people, because the only heal is a heal, at least that I see, and maybe there's more as you progress, is a heal on the ground. And so people are just going to have to be aware of where that is, and it's going to be your responsibility as the tank, or wherever, to make sure you're standing in it, even though I can still try to direct it. I don't know. It's definitely, I definitely am enjoying my time so far, but I do still worry about end game content, and the fact that no indie MMO has ever succeeded really, in flat game. AAA has always been the only way. And so as good as this game is, and as fun as I'm having, I don't think this is going to be the one. I think this is a stepping stone to the one. And like D-Rail said, it's probably going to come from Blizzard or Activision or even From, even though we were kind of downplaying them. Their Elden Rings was number 3 sales on Steam. That's going to be a big MMO. There's a lot of companies out there that know how to bring an MMO into existence, and I think that's when a real MMO is going to come into VR, is when that happens. And until then, right now, this is the best version of it, and I'm really enjoying it.
So I'm kind of like in between Wes and Ruuts. I mean, I've done a couple of MMOs, and just recently, really, and only flat. And I did Orbis for a little bit, which I thought was terrible. But I'm absolutely loving this game. So I'm hooked. I'm all the way hooked. I'm about almost 20 hours in between the two platforms.
Wow.
I'm hooked to the point where I actually went and bought it on the Quest so I could play it in the hotel because I was away. And it's a cloud save, so you can just move your character from one platform to the other, because I have it on Steam. And I went and bought it. I'm like, screw it, I don't care. I'm in the hotel room. I'm doing nothing. I'm just going to play, and I wanted to be in there. I wanted to be in that world, so I spent another $30 or whatever it is to go ahead and play this game. And again, I am not an MMO person, and I because I'm not grindy. I don't like to grind. I don't want to pick freaking carrots. I don't want to chop trees. Especially in VR, I don't want to do all that crap. But this has the perfect mix for me of battling, but with a little bit of collecting items. And I love the loot gathering. I'm a big looter shooter kind of person. I love getting gear. I love finding, getting great drops of gear. I love upgrading gear. So that part of it has me hooked. The social part has me hooked. The way you can interact in this game, and you can team up and group up in this game, is so easy. Man, this game has me excited. I mean, this may not be the game. You're right. It may not be the one. But the fact that this was a #1 Steam game among all Steam games, flat or VR, tells you that people are craving this.
Right.
And there are going to be people that shit on it and that don't like it, that they say it's not there or it's not good enough. But you know what? This is the best thing this is the closest we've come to a decent MMO. This is not Orbis. Trust me. This is about 400 million times better than Orbis.
Right. It actually leads you somewhere. Orbis, you're wandering around not knowing what the fuck is happening. No,
Yeah.
this game is definitely really good, and I think it's very valid. But the fact that the one game you're referencing, New World, is completely different than any other MMO I've ever played. I've never gathered that much. This is the thing in an MMO. Typically, you have one or two professions. You can gather, you can do this or that. New World was like, hey, you're going to do everything. And so there was no difference between your characters. Everybody can do everything, and that's kind of bullshit. There's no specialization. There's no reason to be a potion master or whatever you're gonna do. And so New World was definitely a very bizarre. I didn't like it. So
Speaking of which, I think that I think that I may have started playing this game a bit too early because it is a work in progress, and you do have to choose your character. And I think that they could have had a bit more variety in that area, and I think that it will have a bit more variety in that area. So I just picked the class that was the closest to my play style that I could find. I'm a battle mage, right? So I cast spells. I can shoot from a moderate distance with my blasters on my sides. But I found out just today that I'm not a battle mage at all. I'm actually a cyber ninja, and my character has not been added into the game yet, but it's coming. It's coming, right? And I'm going to be able to stealth. I'm going to be able to stealth up behind people and kill them. I'm going to have grappling hooks so that I can move quickly. I'm going to have a bow and arrow so I can shoot from distance. I am a cyber ninja. So I think that a lot of my issues with this game is that I should have probably started playing it next month instead of this month.
Yeah.
AJ, I don't know what your history with MMO games are, but I imagine it's pretty good because I know your taste in games. You like grindy games. You like Preda. You like No Man's Sky. You're into this type of Song in the Smoke. You're into this type of game where you like to invest that time into advancing, no matter how long it takes. So tell me, what is your history with MMOs, and how do you think that this game, as it is today, how it stacks up?
So the two MMOs that I probably played the most were the classic WoW, classic World of Warcraft, like vanilla, and Final Fantasy 14: A Realm Reborn. And I really feel like this game is a pretty solid mixture of those two, but then like implemented into VR really well. Yeah, I have a long history with MMOs. I've always loved them. Oh, excuse me. Been up here a minute. My throat's getting dry. But yeah, so I the way I got into MMOs was weird because like I never really thought I had any interest or anything. And then I had a friend who he like was obsessed with MMOs. He played EverQuest 99 and he like probably is still playing it right now as we speak.
Yeah.
It is ridiculous, man. I mean, he met his wife. He's like one of my best friends. He met his wife through EverQuest, and so like he got me into World of Warcraft at one point, and I think it was then that I realized what makes MMOs special, and it is very much reliant on the social aspect of it. I mean, there is the exploration, and this game, by the way, this world map is huge and has some of these really like sprawling environments, and up close some of the textures and stuff like don't really look that great, but there are several moments in this game where like the world, you just like you have to stop and kind of smell the roses, as I like to say, and really just soak it all in. But yeah, so I do have a long history with MMOs, and man, I mean, this right now is without a doubt my game of the year contender by far. I really, really love it. You know, I told you that Wanderer is like a masterpiece in my opinion. But yeah, man, this all the experience that I had with World of Warcraft back in the day, and Final Fantasy, A Realm Reborn, some EverQuest, some Guild Wars 2, all that experience translated perfectly, like seamlessly to this, to where like I instantly, maybe not instantly, but I definitely caught on to this game and the game loop and what they're wanting to achieve here. I was able to see it a lot faster because of the history I had with those games. And yeah, man, I think this is a lot of content, a shit ton of content for a $30 price tag. And I mentioned this on Without Parole earlier, that like, when I look at the investment, the Kickstarter, the backing, everything that went into this game, I really feel like it fleshed out into the content of the world and like the depth of the game, and everything. And then when I compare it to something like After the Fall, which I really liked, I liked a lot of things about After the Fall, but like when you look at the scope of the game, I do feel like it's kind of like a lot smaller. And I just felt like that this game, like it's like all the funding that we see, all the support, I feel like you actually see it go into the content of the game, and they had a vision for what they did with this. And I just feel like yes, there's a little jank here and there. There's a couple bugs and whatnot. There's a couple rough edges, but I just feel like what they achieved is something really special. And I actually think that this game is going to be a pretty big deal. I think it could be like the one, like you guys were saying. I actually have thought that from the moment I started playing it, because it just has the foundation it just has the foundation for it, and I think it could be just fleshed out even more, with more end game content, with more character customization, with more places to explore, and features, and I think that they're going to achieve this. I have a lot of confidence in this game, and I don't know if this number was true. I mean, I saw the thing on Steam saying that it was like the #1 game in sales on Steam or whatever for like 24 hours or whatever, and that was like more than I'm sorry, that was more than just VR games. That was like all of games, which
That's
is
true.
unheard of. I feel like, but then I also saw something where like there was like somebody like looked at one of the achievements or something list, and it said, like, I think it was on the Quest 2 or something, that there was like over 100 it was like over 100,000 players had achieved this trophy thing or something. And yeah, I think it's the real deal, man. I think they're getting the support, and a lot of times some games might not have the everybody's talking about it kind of thing, but I feel like this is one where everybody's playing it, and there are people talking about it as well, but I feel like this is one where it's like, it doesn't have to be this flashy everybody's talking about it thing, but people are out there playing it and buying it and getting sucked into the world and spending several hours with it, and I feel like that's what the greatest of the great games do.
Yeah.
I think kind of you nailed it a minute ago when you were talking about how it lays a foundation. I think that the game as it is today is a foundation. I think they're going to keep building on it because, I mean, first of all, they have the funding. This game was funded $10 million by a private firm. Not to mention all the other crowdfunding and things, and Sony's put money into it. So there's money behind this game. But now that they've seen that there's a market for it, and there's a market for it in a big way in VR terms, I think that they're going to continue to build on it. And as long as they can iterate upon it quickly enough to keep people engaged, people are in the game right now. The question is, are people going to be in the game in 3 months? Are they
Well-
going to be in the game in 6 months? If
Well,
they
that-
can manage to sustain, I think they'll continue to grow.
Well, that was a valid point that Roots has. Again, I don't think, we're saying right now level cap is 40. this game needs to have something happen at 40. You need to keep things going. And my question is this: what are they going to do to monetize that at 40? Are they going to do seasons? Are they going to do, expansion packs like World of Warcraft does? Because they're going to want, they have a lot of investors, but investors want to get paid. They don't want their money back. So again, how do you keep people engaged in this game, and then how do you monetize that and make money off it? What are they going to do?
Subscription based. It's going to
is that what we're going to see?
Any game that's any MMO that I've ever played that's been worth anything has been subscription based, and let me explain why. And it's common sense. Like if you want a high level of detail on a game that's constantly being updated, that's where it goes, or at least an MMO. It's not going. This game probably won't go to that point. But I don't know. I mean, that's my thought on it anyway.
Well, you think? Well, I don't know how they would like shoehorn a subscription into a game that launched without a subscription.
No, not this one. Not this one. I'm just saying. It's one of those things that you would. It's something that needs to be there. I mean, any game that I've ever had. Now, of course, this isn't free to play, but the bottom line is games and developers they will continue putting out content and updates and all that stuff as long as the game's still making money. And then once it doesn't make money anymore, it starts to become stagnant. So that's where a subscription is.
Here's the thing about that, though, that puts this game in a unique situation that maybe some of the other MMOs of the past haven't been in. This game is being released in an emerging technology that only now people are starting to buy into. In VR terms, it's a huge success already, but in 12 months, in 18 months, there's going to be a whole new crowd of people that aren't even in VR right now that if they release an expansion or some kind of major update next year, it's going to grab a bunch of new attention and a bunch of new people. That's what I'm saying, is as long as they can continue to keep players engaged and keep people talking about this game, the player base is going to grow along with VR. So I don't know, again, I'm not an MMO guy. I haven't played a bunch of these games. I don't know how it stacks up and where it does well versus where it's lacking. But I do know that a lot of people in VR are excited about this right now. And I know that I'd rather do this than go in Rec Room and hang out with people. Like hanging out, social VR is something that still is a work in progress that everybody wants to do. Everyone that's in VR wants to hang out with their friends and loved ones. And this is one of the better ways that I've found to spend large amounts of time with large amounts of people, more than 2, 3, 4, right? If I want to hang out with 8 people, my options are limited in a game. Like obviously we can go do Neos or VR chat or whatever, but if I want to play a game with somebody, pretty much Rec Room or this, I'd rather do this right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, how crazy is it that this is open world on the Quest 2? I thought they told us they couldn't do Windlands 2 on the Quest 2, and this is so much more ambitious than Windlands 2 ever was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, right?
Yeah. I think we were lied to.
The turnout from our community, so I'm our guild leader. The turnout from our community has been absolutely ridiculous, to the point where I haven't seen so many people from our community buy a game day one. I haven't seen this probably since like maybe Saints and Sinners. And yeah, our guild already has over 100 members, and these are like people that I see on our channel and that are in our Discord and stuff. Actual people from our community. And I've been having to manually add each person to our guild constantly. And I've interacted with we have a total of 114 people in our guild right now. And I'd say about 100 of those are like game cats that we've already known and that just showed up for this game, turned up for this game. I've never experienced anything like this. It's pretty wild, man. And I think it just has enough content to get started. I think it has enough depth, and I think it has enough like VR features that are pretty cool. Like stuff. I don't know if you guys have gotten into like the cooking at all, where you're like you're flipping a pan but then like you're cooking, you're gathering these resources. You cook, you flip the pans or whatever, flip the dough, you cook stuff, and then these like items give you like buffs to go into big battles. So they actually tie it in to be like important. I've actually already maxed out to level 40, and now I'm grinding for legendary gear. And I have like over 60 hours in this game. And then once I get done with that, I want to go and I can change my subclass to a different type of specialized like thing, and then I can go level my same character up again. So like for me personally, I just have like so much stuff, so many hours I can sink into this, and they're really fun hours. What I will say is that this game is not designed to be a single player RPG. You can play it solo. If you play it by yourself, you're gonna be bored as hell after a while. I mean, maybe a while it'll be fun, but it is not designed. It is not designed to play by yourself. It is a massive multiplayer online game for a reason. And yeah, like I said, I think this game is it's already taken off day one, and they've already laid out the roadmap, saying just earlier today actually they said they have plans for more end game content. You heard Wes, you saying you're interested in this cyber ninja character, and I think they struck gold here, and it's rare that a game with so much hype behind it actually like delivers or like exceeds expectations, and yeah, I'm just absolutely blown away by this game, and I think it's going to kick into next gear even more with like PSVR 2 or when they do more updates and things like that. I'm really interested to see Wes, because you guys are always really like you love getting into the tech behind the stuff. Do you know anything about like this spatial OS that it uses?
I have no idea what you're even talking about, bro. I have no clue.
So I don't know if this is the same thing that Township Tale or Population One use. I think they use this, but I'm not sure. But this game actually uses Spatial OS, which is like a cloud-based kind of architecture, and it is this like wonderful theoretical like emerging technology, but it's never gotten any good like games or support from flat screen games. But this game uses Spatial OS, and it's basically what it does is it allows the developers to focus on the content that goes into the game versus having to worry about the architecture. So that's kind of the trick behind something that this game uses, where they can have 100 players all together and the game still runs and like doesn't just crash the game. And it's a really, really interesting technology that this is the first time I've heard of it, and or second time technically, but yeah, I thought that was really cool and explains why they can get so many people in the same room at once, and it's open world. The draw distance is really good, and there's so much stuff jam packed into these areas. I think knowing how you do your technical breakdowns, which I've always been a fan of, I think you would get a kick out of looking a little deeper into this Spatial OS technology.
Yeah. Sounds like they've kind of up, in layman's terms, that they've kind of offloaded part of the game engine into the cloud, right?
Right.
And that there's things going on in the servers other than just hosting the matches in the game. But then again, this is just me going by your description, but that sounds cool. I love where we're at with the technology right now. Not only with what you're talking about, but just in general, we have so many different areas of emerging technology that are all kind of working toward the same thing. And I think that the next 2 years is just going to be breakneck speed with regards to advancement. But yeah, I'll look into that, man. Thank you for mentioning it. I think I might have heard the term a time or two, but I have no idea what it is.
I remember watching one of your episodes a while back, and I sat here and listened to you talk about the RGB like light panels and like breaking
Yeah.
down like down to like the freaking fiber that was in them, and I was just like, this is
Yeah.
so interesting. Yeah. So I figured you would like that stuff, and I always like your guys' approach and acknowledging and discussing like the technical stuff. So I figured you'd like that. But yeah, when I heard about the spatial OS thing it used and how they can just focus on content and not the architecture, I was like really blown away by that.
Yeah, definitely. I was actually on their website today. Their core team is not that big. I mean, I'm sure they have a lot of people working under them, but like,
Yep.
there's like 10 people that put this thing together.
Yeah, which is ridiculous.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I know.
crazy. That's just to show
Anyway.
you what $10 million investment can do for you, though.
Yeah, but
It's
a lot of games get that and still put out shit though, and it's like, where'd the money go, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
No, they did it right.
Burgers and blow.
Yeah, no, they did it right though. I mean, think about the process, the way how they did this. I mean, they went a couple of different routes. They went, they started with a Kickstarter, and then they went into some crowdfunding, and then they went into getting some big investors, like even PlayStation and some other investors, getting in, backing them. So it was a smart way to do it, especially the crowdfunding and the Kickstarter.
They use the hell out of their Kickstarters too, in a good way, by giving them, giving them access and letting them feedback and listening to the community, and like, because Todd's been a part of it the whole time, right?
3 years, yeah. He was a founding member, and he's been testing this game for them for 3 years.
Yeah. In my mind, as long as we've been hearing about this game, it's always just been just another in my mind, because we've had many of these before, and we've got more coming, like Elysia. But when it really separated itself for me is when Sony started promoting it. When I saw this on the PlayStation blog as a part of a PSVR event, then I knew that there was something here. They wouldn't just be doing that for any game. So that gave me confidence then, and it gives me confidence now. Before we get off the topic, I think we all recommend the game. It's only $30. I think that it might still be on sale for about 5 more minutes if you haven't picked it up yet. By the time, if you're watching the replay, the sale's gone, but it's all right. It's worth the $30.
Yeah.
Before we let it go, and move on, areas for improvement, opportunity. There are a few here, and I don't mean the obvious stuff that they're working on. Things I would have liked to have seen in this initial build. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more difference between the platforms, graphically. And what AJ's saying is true. Even though things look kind of basic on the ground level, if you climb to the top of a mountain or zip line to a high point, look out over the landscape, it absolutely is beautiful. And I think the character models look pretty good too. But I would have liked to have seen some differences. Well, I mean, there are differences. I would have liked to have seen more difference between the platforms. It's pretty uniform, and I understand why. It's an MMO. You want it to be uniform across platform still. Beyond that, the party system, I would have liked for it should be bringing my friends in from the platform. Like my Steam friends, if I play on Steam, if I have another one of my Steam friends are in the game, that should show up in the menu. I shouldn't have to try to network outside the game just to find my friends inside the game. I would have liked for that to have been integrated as well. And then with the chat, you can choose like proximity chat, which is they call global, or party chat, which keeps you in touch with your party members. I don't like that if I want to have the party chat on and be able to always hear my party members, that it automatically excludes everybody else in the world. I think there should be a third option there where you always hear your party members, but you also hear who's around you.
There's a guild chat actually. Once you build a guild, there's an option for a guild chat which is unlimited, it does cut out everyone else, but everyone else that's not in your guild, and you can hear your party. You can hear everyone in your guild from all around the map. Doesn't matter where they are, and there's no cap on the guild. So yeah, we've had upwards of like 30 people, I think, talking in a chat. If you thought like a party of like 4 to 8 people was chaos, like, dude, I mean, but luckily we have like, an amazing community, and people are respectful. They understand that there's probably 30 other people that are wanting to say something at the same time. Yeah, that guild chat actually allows you to pretty much achieve that.
Yeah. I was gonna say they need to fix the guild system though, because the guild system's too hard to do right now. It's too hard to get people into the guild. You can't get people into the guild outside of the game. And right now, I think only one person can. If you're the guild master, you can't have anybody else invite people to your guild. There's no officers. There's nothing. Basically, you're it.
It was in beta 1, and then for some reason it disappeared. And yeah, I am the guild leader, and I've added all 114 members myself. And
see, we have a guild, and I'm not in it yet because I haven't been able to get up with our guild master Todd. But eventually, I'll be in our guild, I guess.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's too much as far as the conversation. I couldn't imagine 30 people trying to talk. You know what I mean? Like, when am I going to get my words in? That's all I got to think about. No, I don't know. It's chaos. It's too much noise. But I agree, Wes. I think there needs to be an option. Options are always good, right? And if I'm out just talking with my party, maybe I want to hear the world, or maybe I want to exclude them. Give me the option to do it. Because if I'm just wandering around with 5 people that I'm not in a party with, I can hear every one of them, and I can hear the world, right? But as soon as you party up, you're isolated out. Although we usually go in Discord anyway, at least for those of us that are on PC.
I love the guild chat because we coordinate it, we work it pretty well, and when you're trying to communicate with your friends that you're playing with, and you've got a bunch of kids running around screaming and stuff, it's like impossible to coordinate and to understand each other, to hear each other. It's just too much chaos. But I really, the guild lets you kind of curate the people that you can hear at once. And yeah, I don't know how we did it, but somehow we managed to be able to coordinate and work together with like 30 people in the same voice channel. And yeah. If you're like around separate parts of the world and you're trying to there's like groups of people trying to talk to each other, then yeah, it gets a little rough. But if you usually that's when people break off into party chats or global chat. But if everyone's together, the guild chat works just fine. Because I don't know. I guess it depends on who you're with, but.
That's exactly right. And that's the reason why, if you want to continue to maintain that order in your guild and everyone have their own opportunity to speak, you will not invite Shughead Gaming into. He's in our chat right now. And he says, "AJ, I'm waiting for my guild invite." You can forget it, bro. Go play Corix. All right.
People were asking about you,
so bad.
Go play Corix. People were asking about you, Shug. I don't know. I never came across you for some reason. I heard you were like around, but I don't know. I was able to add 114 people. I blame you.
You should get a trophy. You should get a gold trophy for that, dude.
Seriously.
That's impressive.
Like, how many hours have you spent in this game? I mean,
60.
just to get all those people in there, man. I mean,
60.
just hours putting people in the guild. Forget about playing the game.
10 hours.
Really, I mean, it's not that hard because I just tell people to meet me in one spot, and they just show up there, and you just highlight over their name and do add to guild, and I mean that's about it. And then I switch them over to the guild chat, and then we're off to the races.
Yeah.
Again, I think having a lot of I'm fortunate enough to have a friend that had like 10 years of MMO experience who brought me into MMOs like 20 years ago, or yeah, like 10, 15 years ago. And I think I have a big advantage of how to run a guild properly and stuff because of my experience with that. I think that goes a long way. It can be pretty daunting if it's your first MMO experience.
Yeah.
Well, I think Ruuts should be our guild guy once we find that perfect game that has all the shit in it that he wants.
Yeah, it's out there.
Ruuts,
Yeah, he would rock.
Ruuts, any more areas for short-term improvement for this game, you think?
I mean, everything it seems like they're working on. I mean, mainly it needs more classes, more diversity, right? Like
Yep.
the fact that like I wanted to go in as a healer, and I just was a mage. This is it. This is the. I guess you could do it as a. Can you heal as a melee? I just didn't want to do melee. Melee
You can.
sucks. But
you can't heal as a Blade Master.
yeah, so I don't know. I just keep doing what they're doing, and it seems like the biggest thing they need to get it to where you can get the auction house running and you can start making some money. Obviously they're gonna have to. One of the things Mash was saying that he was hope. I think it was Mash. He was wishing they had bind on equip gear to where you could share. And that's going to be a big thing once the auction house opens up, so you can start making money, start buying stuff. That whole community, that's one of the biggest things in an MMO is that universal auction house. And I was a little surprised that wasn't out yet with it. But I'm hearing it's around the corner. So
Yeah, auction houses are so big. People make that the game sometimes. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I know in Tarkov, we played with Jim Hall in Tarkov, and he could care less about shooting anybody. He loved going in and just selling, buying stuff for a certain price and then selling it in the, and on the flea market for, double the price, or he was crafting something and then selling it. He made it like a monetary thing. He had like $30 million in Tarkov. I'm sitting on like 300 grand. And people just love that part of it.
right.
That's the
I think
that's the
all
thing
that will
about
get-
these.
I'm sorry.
That's the thing about these type of games, right? Is there's a little something in there for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, that just
I
makes
think-
things easier too. Because like if you get money, if you've maybe I want to earn money however I earn it, and I don't want to grind some of the gear, I'm making an alt and I want a little jump. I want to get some gear that immediately puts me a little bit higher, so I don't have to work so hard to get that gear. All of those things come with the auction house. There's a lot tied to it. So
They have
Yeah,
like
well,
sort of ways that they do it, but it's not an auction house style. No, I think that's maybe something they'll get later on. And this game again is not, it's not like perfect in every single way. World of Warcraft, you had like new weapons, new different looking weapons constantly, and like new, like everything you picked up would like look different and felt different. This game, it has a lot of abilities and stuff that it lets you unlock, and a lot of like upgrading to that, like RPG style. But it's not like every enemy you kill drops a new weapon that looks and plays completely different. It's like, no, you've got the same two swords for like a couple hours at least, and then like eventually you'll get cooler looking swords and armor, and cooler looking swords and armor, and but it's definitely not as deep as and like varied in some ways, and I think like stuff like the auction house would maybe come later, and well, we'll have to wait and see, but because they haven't even mentioned an auction house yet. But
somebody said that they did say it, because that was one of the things that somebody was like, man, there's no auction house, and they were kind of put off. And then I think it was Todd that said, oh, it's coming. But he's been following the game for 3 years. So
He's in the founders chat in the Discord, and they've already got a roadmap for the auction house.
so that's
there
good.
you go.
But
Here.
that's the thing that can't have these things unless people know or mention them or whatever. And so I don't know. I think this game is starting in the right direction, and right now it's blown expectations away. I mean, the sales alone, like you guys were saying, it shows that the hunger's there. Now the biggest concern for Zenith is Elysia and all these other games, because anybody that knows about MMOs is all it takes is for another one to drop that draws people in, and this thing could become a ghost town. So they have to really keep on their toes and make sure they're staying ahead of all of that. So
Dose. It's coming back.
yeah, no stuff.
Oh man,
So bad.
man, that showed up on
Wow.
PS5 for like a day, and we checked it out,
Dude.
and it was not the VR version, and it was just that was like one of the biggest pieces of shit I've ever seen in my life. Like I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe
It made
man.
Orbis look amazing.
Oh my god.
It's so sad too because it was a beautiful world, like the art style, absolutely beautiful. Just so janky. Like it's probably the jankiest game I've ever played. It was
So
terrible.
janky.
Anyway, we need to let AJ get something to drink and get some sleep. So we probably should wrap this up. I only have one more question left with regard to this game, and it's really, it's just something I'm curious about because it keeps popping up. So my daughter, right? She plays a lot of Quest. Her friends are all into it now. They all have Quest, but they're homeschooled, and a lot of these homeschooled kids are religious. They're brought up in church. That's the reason why they're not going to public school. They're going to homeschool to avoid all of the corruption of the world, right? Some of them bought this game because again they're into the VR. But then they found out later that after you die, in order to come back to life, you have to pray. So now they're not allowed to play it anymore, right? Okay, so these are kids. I kind of get that a little bit. Not really, but I get it.
Not really.
Not really, but they're kids, right? They're kids. I'm on Twitter the other day, and PSVR Frank's on there, and he's like, "I really wanted to play Zenith until they made me pray." And now I'm scratching my head like,
What?
you just put your hands together. There's no words that come up on the screen. There's no lore behind the God that you're praying to. I don't understand what the trepidation is behind this, but I'm curious if any of you have encountered this in your communities, in your social feeds. Like, is this a bigger deal than I think that it is? Because I keep seeing it.
The dumbest thing I've ever heard.
I don't
You're
know.
shooting people in this game.
This is
Are you really shooting people then?
This is
you're pretending.
This is my thing. Part of me understands on some level because I do love the Lord. I love Jesus. And I went. What was that? The one game I went into, and that was like that. Don't touch anything, right? And I went and I put on these glasses, infrared glasses, and there was pentagrams everywhere. And I said, "Oh, I'm out." Okay. Now, to me, that's just a demonic symbol. I was not going to have a part of it. Now, I agree with what you're saying. Putting your hands together, you're not praying to somebody. And what's the difference between any other movement you're doing? I guess it's really, you could go crazy overboard on everything. Why are you even in VR then? Like, you know what I mean? At some point, man, Zuck's trying to steal your soul, bro. Like, I don't know. It's weird. That's weird.
I've seen Frank get down on Doom like it ain't shit, and there's pentagrams and demons and hellfire, but don't make me do this, bro.
Yeah, that's weird.
Hey, AJ, have you encountered this at all in your community?
Not one. No. That's the only time I saw that, and I was kind of confused, and I wasn't sure if it was a joke at first or not. And
Yeah, I didn't know, man.
there must be something, there's definitely something I'm missing there, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. And again, I'm not trying to pick on Frank. I love Frank. He's a great dude. He's always been cool to me, and one of my biggest inspirations for doing this. I probably wouldn't be here talking to you right now if it weren't for Frank. But I was just confused by it because I don't know. Is he coming at it from the perspective that I'm religious and I don't want to pray to another god? Or Frank's been in California for a few years now. Maybe he don't want to pray to any god, and that's just the fact that he has to pray at all offends him. I don't know. I just thought it was weird. I thought I'd bring it up, and maybe somebody else would.
Maybe ask him, Frank, if you're out there, let us know. This is the thing. I would say it's more of it would just, again, being that I do love God, I could see somebody taking that stance of not wanting to pray to somebody other than Jesus. I could see that, but I don't think that's what's happening. That's what's confusing to me. I don't think you
You're
really
taking
are.
your hands and you're doing this, and then you're back in the game.
Yeah.
But I mean,
That's
we have
literally it.
games. We have games where we take chainsaws and cut fucking people's heads off. But we have games where you stab people through the brain. We have games where you're dismembering people and you're basically doing anything you can. I mean, there's some games on Steam that I won't even play because they're crazy and weird and
That one Wes brought up that one time.
oh yeah, what was
Lust-
that game?
Lust
that-
for Darkness?
Lust for Darkness.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That's the craziest freaking game I've ever heard of. And
The
people are gonna
description.
get a little bit upset because you're doing this. You're gonna be kidding me.
I don't know.
There's got to be something to it, but I don't know. I'd be interested to hear it.
There's definitely something to it. Yeah, it's strange to me. And I've talked to him behind the scenes before, and so like it surprises me that like anything offends him because he's not exactly like the cleanest personality kind of dude. Like
Right.
he has a pretty dirty personality, and so it is surprising in that regard that, but people and
Come
there's
home,
got-
Frank.
yeah, I
South
don't know.
Carolina misses you.
Yeah, man. No, I don't usually get into like that talk of like religions and people's beliefs because there's so many different people that have all sorts of different beliefs that span all sorts of different things, and what some people find acceptable and other finds offensive, and it's like I don't even really try to get into those weeds.
I just say people
Yeah,
do you.
yeah, no, I
People do
understand
them.
that.
Do you? You do
Yeah,
you, right?
yeah,
yeah,
That's the way I look
I
at it.
understand that, and I agree with it completely. It's just the only reason I'm even bringing this up is just because of how innocuous the actual thing in the game is. Like it's
There
that.
must be something in a verse he read somewhere that says like if he does that he's like a sinner going to hell or something.
Right, right.
Thou shalt not
Well,
take a
maybe-
chainsaw and cut somebody's fucking head off.
That's okay apparently.
That's all right.
That's
That's fine.
approved.
That's just perfectly fine. All right. Anyway, I think it's about time to wrap it up. We're all getting a little bit tired and delirious here, and we're running off the rails.
We started talking about religion.
Yeah, yeah.
Where are we going?
So before we go, let's talk about the president. No, I'm just kidding.
Holy crap. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you want to? I think just by mentioning this stuff, we're going to get a community guideline strike.
Let's
or
hope
something,
not.
Probably.
Let's
Hell
hope
yeah.
not.
Yeah.
We love you. We
Anyway,
love
I
you,
wanna
YouTube.
We love you. China #1.
Yes.
Chinatown D, number one.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, I want to thank everyone who showed up to hang out with us this early morning to talk about VR. We appreciate each and every one of you. If you're new to the channel, of course, click the big red button, click the bell to stay up with all of our content. Loads of it coming up. I guess we're going to have Ultrawings in the morning. Well, I don't know. I'll have one in the morning. Eric will have one in the morning. Mine might be a little more afternoonish,
Mm.
but we're going to be working on that for you. Loads of great content coming up. Again, I want to thank AJ for hanging out with dude. This was a blast. Sorry to keep you on here so long.
Not a problem, man.
3 hours.
This is typically what happens when we start talking about PlayStation VR 2, just amongst ourselves. So having you on here,
Yeah.
obviously, kind of derailed things a little bit with regards to that. But it was fun. I had a lot of fun going over this stuff with you, and hopefully we get to do it again sometime.
Yeah, man, would love to. And thank you and Eric and Ruuts. Thank you guys and your community. You're lovely people that I know some of them, and they're awesome as well. Really, really appreciate you guys having me on, man. It's really an honor, and I'm a big fan of what you guys do, and you guys are my friends, so it's pretty cool, man. No, it's just like just kicking back and shooting the shit with some buddies, you know.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. That's when you know your show can go 3 hours and it feels like it's been an hour, right? You just
Yeah.
keep going, just keep going.
It definitely went by really fast, and I'm like still not tired at all for some reason.
You know who else can go 3 hours and it feels just like it had been an hour?
My mom.
She's got energy.
Oh, there she is.
She does. Anyway, Again, check out AJ's channels, 2 of them, PSVR Underground, PSVR Without Parole, both linked in the description down below, as is an invitation to our Discord. Are you going to pick up Zenith? Do you need people to play with? Well, we got you covered, friends. Just click on that invitation down there, hit us up in Discord, and you can become the newest member of the Virtual Strangers / Q2C Guild. If we can ever get up with Todd and get him. AJ, do you want to be our guild master for a little while?
Come on, man. Come on, man.
You guys are welcome to join the Game Cat Dojo.
Yeah.
How many times have you said Game Cat Dojo in the last week?
114.
That's awesome. I love it.
Join the dojo, Tarzan. Anyway.
You need a
with that said,
Tarzan related. You need like a smash the lock or something like that. You need
I saw somebody in the
smash
chat
the like
earlier
button.
said double pop. I want to hear you. Can you say give us a double?
double pop.
I love it, man. I love it.
All right. With that said, friends, we would like to thank you all once again for watching. For Ruuts and Eric and AJ, I'm Wes. We'll see you tomorrow, friends. Bye now.
Take it easy.
See you later.
I'm praying.